Ready to rock and roll, folks. And got a nice little lineup. We got Will sitting here. Think of questions in a hurry because I know you need some sleep before you go out tonight, right? So
Hey,
Yeah,
we already got a ton of questions up there. You
there you
guys
go.
seeing
there it
this?
is.
Yes.
Oh my God. Should I start?
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
do
Let's
it.
let's
Let's
roll.
start
do it.
with a
Let's
few
roll.
questions. Hey, first of all, thanks for being here, everybody. We really appreciate it. Once again, hit that like button. We really appreciate all of you, each and every one of you. Of course, we've got a trip on the El Patron tomorrow, and that's why Will is here. Will's going to talk to you guys who are on the El Patron with Friedman Adventures tomorrow a little bit, and then Danny and him can BS. We told Will we'd only hold him 15 minutes, but we meant 15 hours, right, Danny?
Yeah, that's usually where it works. On Thursday nights.
I think I tried to come in here for an hour the other time, and I think I was here for an hour and a half.
Oh my
Yeah.
Yeah,
God.
we've
Well,
been doing 2 to 3 recently too.
thanks
There's
for
no end.
thanks for hitting that like button, everybody. First of all, first question, Tommy Tar, Danny, what was the biggest mistake you made as an owner operator of your boat? What a great question.
Yeah, I'm going to need a week to get that list down. But I'll tell you one thing. I wish I would have done with the Mustang. We had like 50 something bunks, and generally at the max it would take 30 guys plus our crew. And what we probably should have done is either gutted it, maybe put staterooms in, or at least just straight double bunks. We had the room to do that, but we never did. And it had that capacity, but that's one thing
Make it
I
a lot
keep thinking
nicer.
about. It was air conditioned, but yeah, it would make it a lot nicer. Yep.
All right, there's one. Dan Smith. We made it home in time to watch live. Dan, great to see you. Hello, Phil, Captain Danny, and all the fine folks of the Friedman Adventures family. Phil, last night's show was great when they talked about the bucket that chopped up bait, and you said, "Oh, that would work good for getting rid of bodies." I almost spit out my coffee. Yeah, who knows why that came into my mind. I'm an evil guy, Dan. Good to see you here, my friend. Cue ball. I do a lot of shark fishing. You should see our chum machine. And Dan Smith has a question for Danny. Danny, what was your favorite speed to pull feathers for yellowfin and albacore?
Well, generally yellowfin, I would speed it up. Albacore, we always slowed it down. I mean, we got a lot of trolling fish, on our boat lines and everything.
What'd you troll?
Oh, we would troll all kinds of stuff from.
No, but speed wise,
Well, speed.
albacore. I think I did like 7.5 knots when I was.
I
doing
was
it.
I would go even under that, and with commercial fish, just so we weren't burned gas, we were crawling, and you'd get them, But from that point, we had very short boat lines because you want to keep them tight to the boat. The minute we get bit, we put the bait on them, but then we'd be in the racks with the squids first, and then you hit them with the bait. If we can get them going on the squids, then we got it made. But then from that point you scale down, you bait pull them, and there's that hierarchy where you start from squid to bait pull, then you go to rod and reel. And the rod and reel was a lot of work when you're doing it commercially, But that time of year was a fun time for my crew because I didn't generally let my crew fish during the season when we're down in H&M down in San Diego or down at Islandia when we moved over there, and so it would give my crew a chance to really get their jollies, by going in there and whacking those things. And that albacore was a good thing because even back then, we'd get our aggressions out and we'd make money with it, so it was a good deal.
How about you? What did you troll differently for yellowfin and albacore or not?
Albacore. I think I trolled more feathers, more subtler. Like I did a lot of like the tatty, the Buddha heads they made, the smaller 4 inch. A lot of them are like the fire tiger color, all white and gold tuna clones. They seem to like the daisy chain, like almost look like a different colors. Trying to think of what the little lifesavers. They almost look like a roll of lifesavers trolling it behind the boat, and you'd get a lot more bites on that kind of stuff. And yellowfin, you seem if you a lot of times like on ours we trolled the CD18s and the 14s, and they would be at one wake behind the boat on the corners up tight, just outside, in the clean spot just outside the first wake. You could barely see it, and people would look at us crazy like you're trolling that close. And you'd go to a lot of times you'd go to set that thing out and go to put it in the clip, and you'd be bit and you're like, oh, got one. and they just suck up to the boat. So, but I could never get the albacore to bite that tight. But I always, albacore seemed to bite the feathers better than the yellowfin. The yellowfin seemed to like cedar plugs or, something that had like bubbles. The rapalas, you could use like the little 6-shooters for yellowfin, and they wanted to eat it a little bit closer and a little bit faster, where the albacore liked it a little bit further back and a little bit easier, not so aggressive. I mean, not to say that you wouldn't get an aggressive school to eat a feather at 10 knots. They would, but they seem to be a little more not so, they're going to chase it down. And they came off a lot faster. Albacore seemed to have softer mouths than yellowfin. They would rip off the troll feather if you were trolling them too fast, especially with boat gear.
Put another tuna cord on it and double up the cords.
2 boat lines. If you pulled that thing out of the water, you started pulling it before the boat stopped, he'd come right off.
Yeah, they do have a softer mouth. So, we would also, there's different things that I don't even use anymore, but when we slow it down, we'd use baldies.
I know you start talking about baldies and bone jigs, because they ain't know nothing about that.
Yeah, the kids now, they don't, but I mean, we did. And they were effective, and we
were good.
I had my commercial set where there was no barbs on them, and then we had the stuff we used when we were dragging them on, for sport fishing. So
people now, I trolled a baldy.
Yeah.
Why are you trolling old people behind the boat? That's not nice.
What are you throwing me behind the boat, man?
You got good dynamics going through the water,
Halibut Man Mitchell says, hit that like button, and I couldn't concur more. Mitchell, good to see you. Thanks for participating last night in our lobster seminar. Dan Smith, another question for Danny. The fuel dock in Mission Bay, just west of Seaforth, is that the same dock and area that Islandia was at?
Yeah.
Did you have your own fuel dock back then?
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. It was a blessing. We had, it was nice before, what was the guy's name? He owned the Islandia Hyatt, and he rebuilt that section going in there. It was absolutely a perfect place to be. I can remember the first year we got the lease on Islandia, and what year was it? It'll come to me. I think it was like 84. And, my passengers would come up, and the first thing he was, hey, where do we park? I said, where'd you park? Right there in the front there. I said, well, that's it. Plus it was free. It was amazing. It was amazing back in those days.
That was the biggest selling point of Seaforth. It was free.
And that, for me, the beauty of being at Islandia then was, between my 2 boats, between the Fortune and myself, we were the only overnight boat. Seaforth was, guys don't realize that, but Seaforth did exclusive half-day trips, mainly satisfying the SeaWorld crowd. We'd take tourists out from SeaWorld fishing, give them that experience in Mission Bay there. But the beauty of that was, like, we had bait shortages in like 1984 and 85. And between the Mustang and the Fortune, I was tanking up 100 scoops in each boat in our big bait tanks. And I know there were my brother over on the H&M side. I know the bay was getting ration chovies, so we would meet outside and transfer bait outside to them too. But so it was a beautiful thing having that operation there. And I think it was 84, 85, 86.
Way before me.
Great. Yeah.
Way before me.
Yeah.
Jeff Yeoman says, good evening, Will, Danny, and Phil. Jeff, a Navy veteran. We thank you for your service. Jeff Yeomans is a great guy, 540 slinger. Robert Graver says, love the show. Thanks for making time and sharing with all of us. Robert, thanks for being here. Isaac says, good evening, gentlemen. Will, you've got all the souls from Friedman Adventures in your hands tomorrow, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. trip. What are we going to do? What's the plan? What's going on out there?
Ooh.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take us over to Catalina. We're gonna do some bass fishing. We're gonna probe some spots that a lot of people don't know about. A lot of them don't get fished anymore. So use some old information from back in the day of the Tornado, the Aztec, the Eldorado, the overnight boats when we made a living before the 3/4 day and full day boats ventured over there. That was strictly overnight territory. So some of the little quiet spots, we're gonna go look for some bass, try to catch some bonita, some other stuff. It's our last day, guys. Last day to catch whitefish, sheephead, sculpin, stuff like that. After tomorrow night, got to be outside 50 fathoms. So hopefully we can make the best of it and try to catch some of those things, fill some sacks, catch some bass, and everybody have a good time. If I see some bluefin off the east end or west end, depending which way, we'll stop, we'll look at it, we'll try. You don't pass up fish just to keep fishing. I'll stop at them. Maybe we'll catch a dozen of them or one or two of them. You can catch one, we're golden. We got one on the boat. We succeeded in what we were trying to do. But probably going to island fish. Get everybody a good opportunity to fish a little bit different than you fish with, 30 guys on a bigger party boat. Get a little tighter, fish some smaller spots, little different adventure there for you guys. So that's our plan.
All right,
Well, that's
sounds
pretty
good,
cool.
right?
You got with a small group, you can probably do a little drifting, whack some hallies, some
Get up
flatties
tight
there.
to-
I mean,
get up
yeah,
tight to some of the beaches,
sure,
drag some
sure. There's
sardines
a lot of different
and
things. Yeah.
see if you pick away. You can. It's different. You can't do that on a 75-foot boat. You can't make halibut drifts in 3 fathoms of water. It just you don't have enough space. You don't have enough room.
We just talked about that. One of my old mentors, Russ Iser, with his smaller boats, he would tell me to slide in there with the Mustang, and I go, David, we got too much draft for that, Russ. He says, oh, that's all right. Just keep it running. I'll tell you when you can kick it forward. And I go, oh, the heart's going. But he could call how many bass if you get a legal halibut. He would call the shot, and he was remarkable.
It's different
Phenomenal
fishing
guy,
when you can
yeah.
put a boat in 2 fathoms of water.
Yeah,
and
it
not
is.
stress about it. I hope Chris
It
ain't
is.
watching this because he can be all stressed out if he is.
Hey, Isaac just sent us a $20 bill.
Oh,
Yay,
man. You're the man, Isaac.
We love you, Isaac. Thank you so much. Dan Smith. Yeah, I remember Islandia. It was nice. I was fishing commercial with my dad at that time, and we used to bring fish to Papa Joe. You remember Papa Joe?
No. Wait, Papa Joe.
Sportsman's.
Oh, okay. See, I never did that.
Yeah.
I never brought anything
Is that
sportsman's,
Sportsman Seafood he's talking
Yeah,
about?
so he's right
Wasn't
next,
Mario
right in
the
between.
guy? And was that Mario's father or something, maybe? Or?
I don't know because we still had the tie over at H&M.
Yeah.
With the
That's what they used to give you
at Point
cans.
Loma. Yeah.
You get cans or
Yeah.
smoked fish.
There you go,
Oh,
way back.
You want 8
The
pounds
trade
of,
out.
8 pounds of tuna for this 6-ounce can of albacore. Here you go.
What a deal.
What
Yeah, I
a
know.
deal.
But we did it
What a deal.
Yeah.
and
I
come
know.
home with cases, so that tells you how we got a few.
Steve Bermuda says, hey, Danny, could you talk about fishing the High Sierra in the fall?
Oh man, that was our go-to place. The minute we tied the Mustang up, we'd have my brother and Brian Kiohara and Kohei and the Tanaka boys and Junior, all of our guys, all my crew. We'd always go up in the Sierras, and after being on the ocean for the whole summer and spring, that was heaven. And we just have a blast. We'd have a blast, but it never slowed us down, and we never took it any less serious. And one of the biggest things I never was able to pry out of Brian Kiohara was he would never take me where he got the grayling, but I know where it's at. But I think it dried up, and it's one of the creeks that came out of Bridgeport. I can't remember it right now, but I could tell you if I looked on a map the name. But yeah, he had a grayling spot. I never caught a grayling. And Brian would
wouldn't
not
even
tell
tell
me.
you.
No,
Nope.
not even tell me. Yeah, dirty rat. All right, Brian.
I didn't even know there were- I didn't
he's
even know there
good.
were
That was a
grayling up
smart
there.
move. That was a smart move, Brian.
probably was,
He
'cause
probably
if
thought
he-
I'd clean it out.
Well, no, because if he tells you where they're grayling, then you tell somebody else where then he loses his honey hole.
Yeah.
So if he just
yeah,
keeps
he's
it
no
quiet-
dummy. He's no dummy. He
Yeah.
shows that. He's shown that throughout his career here.
Did you ever fish that area, Will? High
No.
Sierra?
No.
You never have.
No, I throw swim baits the same size as the fish they're trying to catch, so probably not. I have no. It's
Patience.
nothing. No, it's not that. I have no urge
Desire.
or desire to go.
Yeah.
I mean, there's guys that they go way and beyond that will stock those little golden trout, 6-inch, 8-inch wild trout, crawling on their hands and knees to fish a stream and throw some. No, I'm not. I'm
I've
not
been
that.
there. Been there,
I'm not.
done
I'm
that.
not. Now I'll drive for 9 hours, go fish Clear Lake in a bass boat for 9 hours, and stand there and catch nothing. I'm down to do that. Throw big baits
No,
all
been
day.
there, done that too.
But I just have no urge to climb around a mountain looking for a bait, looking for something that's the size of a mackerel. No, and the mackerel fights harder than the trout does.
No, say what? Well, it's about being
I
able
know,
to put
it's
it
the-
to your
it's the
crew
whole-
and say, "Hey,
I know it's
come
the whole
on."
stealth thing. And
Oh,
you're
it's a
catching them, but
it's a fun
just
deal.
not-
Yeah.
It's just not me. That's just not my thing.
Well, after being on the ocean for how many months solid
Well, yeah,
from the
it's-
time
it's-
we're here fishing Catalina, Clemente every day, and then taking it down to San Diego, man, we wanted to get as far away from this dock
yeah,
as we could.
that's like us
That
now.
was
We all
why
go
it was
bass
nice.
fishing instead.
Yeah,
We
well,
don't go
you're
to high
absolutely.
Sierras. We go bass
Yeah, we did
fishing
that
to
too.
get- yeah,
We did that
but
too. Yeah.
A little different.
Yeah.
All right.
the same.
Yeah.
Isaac, who just sent us the $20, says, "Good luck, guys. I'll be working hard. Hope you're killing it." John Dulay says, "Hi to everyone. John, good to see you here." Richard Escalante is going to be on the El Patron overnight tomorrow. He's going to be with you, Will. And he said, "Are you going to do any night fishing? Is that possible?"
That's
and tackle
probably,
recommendation.
probably the plan. They're catching some. They're getting some scores of that bluefin at nighttime. I'm not going to say where because then the guys would kill me. They wouldn't talk to me anymore. But there's been some nighttime scores. So yeah, we'll go down and fish. Try to catch some fish at nighttime. Look around, see if we can catch them. I would say, the 250 to 350, knife jigs, 250 flat fall would probably be good. The SK jigs and that 270 to 300 gram. The guys that don't fish them very much anymore, the Shimano butterfly jigs, the original, those things are awesome.
Oh yeah, I got a bunch of
they've
those.
got a great fall rate to them. They fall fast, but they flutter. Anything in that 200 to 300 gram, 325 would be a great bait to bring. Tackle wise, same thing, knife jigging. Minimum I would say would probably be like 60 pound, preferably 80 to 100 pound, because you don't know if that school you stop on that everybody might be catching 30 pounders, and we stop on a school and the first fish you hook is a 200 pounder. So, or you get into a spot of those 100-pound fish that all want to bite. So, and then you don't want to hook those on 60 pound in the dark. It's just a bad idea.
Well, you could always scale down.
Yeah, you can't.
But once
scale
you hang
up.
something, you can't scale up.
That's
You're
that's
hung.
like the drag.
Yeah.
I tell people like fishing that 25 to 40 pound tuna. I'm like, guys, back your drag off a little bit. We're fishing light, little hooks, and the minute they hook up, they've got their drag set where they want it, and they get bit, and that fish takes off, and before I can check their drag, the line separates. And I try to tell them, I can always tighten your drag up, but once it's already broke off, I can't do nothing to fix it. He's gone.
That's right.
So, that's tackle recommendations for that overnight. I would say bring your 20 to 50 pound stuff, and probably a 60 and a 100-pound rod. If we're gonna fish kelps, gonna fish some other stuff down there, and preferably, we get on that nighttime jig stuff. You can start at 100 pound if it's not working well. You can always drop down to 80 if it's smaller fish. So, and go from there.
All right,
There you go.
Jeff Yeomans, 540 Slinger. After tomorrow, all rock fishing, as Will, you were pointing out, has to be 300 feet or deeper. No more sheep's head or whitefish.
No more sheep's head or whitefish
Last
till
chance,
December
Dan.
31st, till New Year's.
Yeah.
It's all
Wow.
closed, so you can't
It's
do it
amazing.
until January 1st. So that puts Santa Barbara Island out of the picture, except for calicos, halibut, yellows, and sea bass. Puts Nick out of the picture, except for calicos, yellows, and sea bass, halibut. So I mean, they're limiting our range of what we can fish.
And that's all based on what Fish and Game and their biologists. These biologists that come out of UC Santa Barbara and stuff that have maybe 2 days on the water all their lives, and they make judgment on that. And I dealt with that with Iser. This is 30, 40, years ago, and I'm sorry, I have no respect for them. I mean, they make judgment. They're quick to judgment on that without.
Well, they killed us this year for April 1st and moved it from March 1st to April 1st because
Yeah, that's pretty much the answer. That's pretty much their
Because.
answer. Yeah, because they need grant money, and
it's-
that's the basis for most of theirs. And
I
I'm
know
sorry,
now-
I'm getting
I know-
political,
I know
guys.
now they think the chuckleheads are endangered.
Yeah, like they know. Well, tell them to put a dive mask on and go down and check and make sure.
But I mean,
Because that's here's
now
the
we're
problem they
catching
have.
too many reds. Now we got to limit the reds to 4. We got to it's.
Well-
I mean, we do police ourselves pretty well on the boats.
Exactly. I was gonna say that.
It's hard not to.
I was going to say that.
We do a good job of it. And you know what? It makes a lot of people mad sometimes when you start counting. You're like, that's it. You can't have any more. But I mean, it's
It's for our future, folks.
yeah, it's what
we know
do.
we see it.
We've
Yeah.
seen it. I mean, we try to keep it where everybody can have something to take home.
And I got to tell you, back in the old days, we were very guilty of overkill. I mean, we would take limits whether we needed it or not. We would take our limits. And you know what? When it comes down to it now, it's just like being on a tuna boat. Am I going to process all this fish? What are we going to use? What are you going to give away?
Oh yeah.
And so, You know, we have to think a little smarter these days, and it's finally clicked in. It's taken quite a few years for me, but it's finally clicked in. You know, but that's just the way, you know, the mindset goes. You know,
Oh, most definitely.
yeah.
All right, PNS Hornjack. Sarah here. Just wanted to say a quick hello to everyone. My son and I are watching as we are packing our suitcases to fly to San Diego tomorrow from Montana, by the way, boys.
Wow,
Patrick's
cool.
already there. I think you guys are on the Legend for 3 days, if I remember right. Regardless of what boat you're on, have a wonderful trip. Hope you guys really, really get them. Rick Slater, Danny, did you chase the spotted bass at Lake Paris for the record?
You know, I used to go fish there when they had the spotties and used to have some really good days. I'll tell you who used to fish with me with my San Bernardino charter, the Herb Clemenson group, was a guy named Gil Rowe. And I don't know if you know who Gil Rowe is, but Gil Rowe at one time owned every single line class record from 2 pounds to 16 for the spotted bass from Lake Paris.
You know how many people
And
they don't believe there was spotted bass in there in the 80s?
Oh, unbelievable. And
that
phenomenal.
was like awesome
And
spotted
phenomenal.
bass, and it
Oh,
got messed up.
It really did.
They made some bad choices to try to improve the fishery, and it destroyed the spotted bass fishery.
That doesn't surprise me. That's our fishing game. They messed up a lot of fisheries here, you know, with all the Floridas, the whole deal.
Well,
but you know that bass, all those line class records that Gil Rowe owned, he caught from shore, which was amazing. He fished with me with my San Bernardino group. He is a phenomenal fisherman. He fly fishes. I mean, bass fishes. He's a tuna fish. He does everything. He's just a great fisherman. And he would call me and say, Danny, come on out. The big ones are biting. Well, big spotty is
Three to-
maybe 9, 10, you know.
That's a giant
9
spotty.
They were,
then.
oh,
But
yeah.
I mean, back
Oh,
then,
no.
a big spotted bass is anything over 3 pounds. That's
Yeah.
a big one.
Yeah, and he was catching them on dads, sometimes small water dogs, you know. But he would call me. You know what the problem was? The same time Paris was on, so was Castaic and Casitas. So my
Do I want
shot
to go
on
catch a 9-pound spotted bass, or I want to go catch an 18-pound largemouth bass?
Yeah, well, that was the problem I had. That was the problem I had, you know. And I look back and I said, I wish I would have gone, but I know where he got them, and he caught them from shore.
So,
So, I mean, even worse.
did you ever spotted bass fish at all?
I did in the off season. I did a couple of TV shows with some of the guys.
They're one of the most fun fish to catch.
Oh, they're great.
And if you approach them like a largemouth bass, you are not going to catch any of them.
It's considered, and they're beautiful. They're really
They're
pretty
mean.
fish. Yep.
Those things are. I caught them at Pine Flats.
Yeah.
I've caught them. Caught them on the Sacramento Delta where they're not supposed to be, but there's a lot of them in there that nobody knows about. But they're mean fish. I mean,
Yeah.
you catch
They're
a
fun.
13-inch spotted bass, you think you got a 3 or 4 pound largemouth, and you get him to the surf, you're like, that's it. Where's the rest of them?
Well,
they're
Paris,
awesome fish.
Paris dominated. You guys could look back in the late '80s.
Yeah, they had
early 90s.
they had the world record.
Yeah,
out of
look
Paris.
it up, and you'll see Gil at one point. If you have an old IGFA record book, he owned every single line class. But it's not by luck. He's a phenomenal fisherman. You know, and he had the talent from fishing tuna to fly
Think if
fishing.
they would have been
so.
drop shotting back then.
Oh.
How would he would have caught?
Yeah, but you know, my credit to him is he got them from shore.
I know, but if he'd have still
Oh.
been drop shot, he probably would have had a lot more.
Probably, I don't know.
They're
He
pretty
was
stupid
Yeah.
on a drop shot.
Hey, he's a great fisherman. Yeah.
Did they even have
but, yeah.
Cincos back then?
No,
Oh, good thing.
no, they didn't. Yeah, they didn't. Yeah.
All right, good stuff. Cue Ball, referring to your criticism of the Fish and Wildlife, says, Danny, spot on.
Well, you know what? I'm getting too old to pull any punches, and I've just resigned to the fact I was told to tell the truth, or I got spanked when I was little, and I'm sorry. You
You think
know.
Will's going to spank you, or what?
No, I'm not worried. Any more you spank me, that's you know that's on you.
Yeah, right.
And you jeopardize yourself sometimes. Depends what did I have here? No, it's a donut. It wasn't a burrito. We were okay. You're okay, Will.
All right, Steve Bermudez wants to know your best day is going to be Danny because Will wants nothing to do with trout. I'm right along with you, Will, by the way. Steve Bermudez, what's your best tactic for fishing trout in the Sierra in the fall, and when does the season end?
I'd have to check on the season, but you know, in the fall, we scope in float tubes and fish. I used to fly fish. believe it or not. That certain side of me would come out, and when we did it for business too, because I had to be able to do that. But we go up in float tubes and fish crawly in the fall, and you could fish streamers, matukas, and things like that, cast and strip them, or you could. A lot of times, it's still a double nymph is really effective. So that's and essentially that's a fly method of drop shotting, folks. Don't let them kid you. That's what it is. But I mean, it's very effective. But that's a good thing in the fall. Fishing the fall trout.
When is the season end?
I want to say
close it?
sometime in October
You close it at some
or
point.
September. Well, and you got to check the regulations because it depends on the lakes too. Like Crawley, has its own, I think, a different season. Times when it's barbless only and this and that. So you definitely have to go through and check the regulations, folks, on all the impoundments where you decide you're going to go fish. So that'll make the difference.
All right, hit that like button, everybody. We got Will here from the El Patron. If you're on that trip tomorrow, you have a question about the El Patron before he runs out of here, because poor guy's got to get some sleep. I mean, we want him to be lively tomorrow.
Fresh.
We don't want him, to be dead like I'm going to be. So if you have any questions for Will, ask. Dan Smith says, calm down, everybody. Sheep's Head, it's closed from January to February 28th. Whitefish and sculpin are open all year long. Check the regs. Just check the regs. We did get a few good things.
They did change the regulations this year. They threw that in April or something like that because it kind of threw a damper in a lot of people's things. And I'll check, but I mean, I got it on my phone. I mean, if we can still catch whitefish, that's great. But the regulations, they're pretty. They changed at the last minute. Like, sorry, you can't do that anymore.
Okay, no
So,
comment.
I know.
Go ahead.
No comment.
I mean,
Yeah.
It's a fine line. Some guys say yes, you can. Some guys say yes, you can't. No, yeah, you can. But it comes down to whoever's enforcing it. If they tell you no bottom fish, no ground fish, if they make a closure for all ground fish, you're walking a really thin line with trying to say, well, no sculpin are open year round and so are whitefish. But if they said all ground fish are closed, that's all ground fish.
So you can't even put a hook down there then.
Well,
essentially.
Well, you can catch calico. You just got to throw them all back.
Well, yeah. By the
You
time
can
the
catch 'em, but you
bladders
gotta
blow, I mean, that's
why they said
that,
50 fathoms or deeper. So
Yeah.
that kind of eliminates your whitefish and your sheephead because they want you fishing deeper than 50 fathoms.
Okay.
So they don't want you catching
My
anything
case in
else.
point, another brilliant move by Fish and Game. These young kids looking for grant money.
There's only a
Sorry.
handful of places you can
I'm
fish
done
over
with-
50 fathoms.
Yeah.
aren't
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
But I mean,
And
if
we think
it's-
we
if
have it
it's
crazy
open,
in every other area.
Yeah, I mean, if it's open, granted, great, then it's even better. But that DFG, way they word things sometimes, it's a fuzzy gray area, and you may think you're doing it right, and they say nope.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And once you get it, you can argue with them, but most of the time you're not going to win because it's their word against yours, and it's easier just to play it on the safe side. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I mean, I hope I'm wrong. I'd rather be wrong on this side than right.
Well, we got a track record of guys like Russ Iser. They thought he was wrong, but the whole time he was right about all of it.
I ain't gonna admit that.
So yeah, they're not going to.
Well, they're still right.
But I will keep reiterating it to the village idiots that are up in Sacramento.
Oh.
Okay,
I love it. We're going to get in all kinds of trouble by the end of the show.
that's perfect.
Nelson DG, do you guys ever fish LA Harbor sport fishing? The Sport King. Have you ever fished that?
I used to run. I originally ran over there with Taka and everything. We
Yeah.
were it was Ports of Call back then. Norm's Landing before that. You
Yep.
know, and I remember going there. That's at Norm's when I was 5 years old when I got my first yellowtail out of there. But so it goes way back. But the Mustang was at Ports of Call back then before we moved it here to 22nd Street. So
I've never rode
Yeah,
the
it was
Sport
pretty
King.
good.
I know of the Sport King.
yeah. Oh my God, yeah, Jimmy. It has a great history. Of captains over the years, from Herb Curley's to Jimmy Peters, they're
Bruce.
phenomenal fisherman guys. Yeah, Bruce. But yeah, it's had a long line of great skippers. I think Tuck even ran it for a little while too.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, yeah. So there's some great Herb Curley. I think there were some classics, some great captains.
Rick Slater wants to know, were Potski's salmon eggs eaten as a delicacies? He likes his with Velveeta.
Well,
Ugh.
one of the very early secret weapons before power bait that my grandfather swore me to when I was probably about 4 years old. We go up to Crawley, and he would mash salmon eggs with Velveeta cheese. So it would milk, but it would have the flavor mixed in with it. Then we ball it up, put it on a treble hook, and that was
Little number 16
before
golden treble hook.
Zeke's and power bait. Yeah, exactly. So
I don't know what was
yeah, it
worse
goes
when I was
back.
a kid, trying not to eat the Velveeta cheese or use it for bait.
Yeah. Well,
Because it was good, but then you read it, it's not even a cheese product.
okay.
What is it?
Yeah, that's the
$500,000 question.
A dairy
It's
something.
Velveeta.
Yeah. But that just goes to show you. I think we were the only ones anywhere in the country that even messed around with stuff like that. Predecessors to your power baits and everything else, flavoring
I used
the
Velveeta
cheese
for everything.
and it
Velveeta,
milked.
You caught catfish. I caught
Oh.
bluegill. I caught carp. I caught trout. I mean,
Okay.
that was the everything bait. You just put Velveeta on a treble hook and you were good to go.
Do
Yeah.
people still fish
Oh
it?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Before Irvine Lake closed, I used to take my kid over there. My kids fishing, and yeah, I had power bait, but I also had Velveeta cheese.
been
Sometimes
around
they ate the
forever.
Velveeta better than they did the power bait.
Well,
Yeah,
actually,
it milks. It milks really well. A slight element of chum there.
All right, Nelson DG. Somebody told me that whitefish is the same as the tilefish in Florida.
It's not the same. It's a close relative. They both are tilefish, but we call them whitefish here. But the tilefish, I think they have golden tiles in the Gulf and off Florida. But they're the same family. They're just not the same fish, but both very good eating.
Do they look similar?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. I've
Yeah, they
seen
do.
them. Okay, back there.
Well, that's why when back in the day, they're littered like tiles. When you catch the whitefish, they just be loading up because they're tile fish. They're just a whole bunch of them.
Stack them up.
Yeah.
Tyler Tanaka, good evening, Friedman Adventure family. Tyler, it's good to see you here. Q Ball says some Zeke's power bait on a Ritz cracker. Man, what could be better?
Ugh. Peanut
Does that
butter.
sound good or what?
Peanut butter on a Ritz
yeah,
cracker
yeah,
sounds
peanut-
better.
Yeah, peanut butter. Peanut butter, yeah.
Hey, Will, we were talking, and Danny, we were all talking. What is this off-color water that we're finding in
I don't know.
some areas? Is it red tide? Is it?
It's brown.
Yeah,
It looks like a cardboard box out there.
It's brutal.
It's not a very pretty watercolor at all. So I've seen red tides. I've seen harbor water look that brown like after a rain, but I've not seen it like 20 miles, out 8-10 miles where it's still brown. It's just ugly, and it's not conducive to the fishing right now. The fish don't seem to, I was telling you, you get in the cleaner water, the fish would turn on the minute that brown tide or that brown water would come in, and it just shut them off. They just wanted nothing to do with anything. Like you catch mackerel, but the bait didn't seem to mind, but the game fish you were trying to target just seemed to just nope, I'm not doing it no more. So just waiting for it to clean up. I don't think we're going to catch any yellows on the 105 or anything out front with brown water right now.
Have you heard anything about the water at Catalina? I hear it's not. It's good, right?
Oh, last picture I saw, the water was like 73, 74 to
Wow.
70 on the west end, 72 to 73 on the east end, 70, 71, 68. So it's good water. There's differences. It's good fall fishing water right there.
Yeah, heck yeah, man.
So-
What about the fall? That's such an incredible time here in Southern California,
is.
isn't it?
It's-
Yeah, yeah.
Care to opine on that a little bit?
Ooh, do I care to pine on it?
Opine. In other words,
It can be-
what makes the fall so special? Is it,
It
the
can
good
be
weather, the
it can be
variety?
some of the most phenomenal fishing you will ever have, but then it can also be some of the most phenomenal boat rides you will ever have, depending on what you try to do. Everything just moves. The weather can be nice one day. It's just a whole different. It's a change of the years, but everything's available. You have to find it. It changes that
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah.
And the good thing about fall water is if back in the days, you've seen it too, where you get that warm water pocket. You get those yellowfin or the exotics get stacked up in like a little 10-mile box of 71-degree water, and all of a sudden everything around it goes to 65. Those fish are not coming out of that 71-degree water. They will stay there until they have to leave, and you can go in there every day and you can wail on them because they're hungry and they're looking, and they won't cross that barrier until the water turns over and they have to leave. But they'll stay right there the whole time, and you can go, you can plug away. You can just go out there, stop the boat, start throwing bait, and catch fish. But you have to have that pocket. And when it gets like that, it can be awesome.
Right. I think about it like last year about this. Well, it was in the fall when we did that trip with the Freedom with all those old guys, and it was ideal. It was just steady plunking all day. It turned on, they flurry. And
We guys catching.
we get them in. Bluefin, and the mix of yellows. There were a
Down
few
on the
yellows.
bank?
Anchored up in town.
that's a good thing about that.
That's always fun stuff.
The Tanner and the Cortez right now
Yeah.
can be some of the best yellowtail and bluefin fishing you can have out there. Just, it plunks away, and then October, November, you happen to get some island squid that pop up, and you take tanks of squid out there and talk about the fishing going from having 15, 20 yellowtail days. Go out there and you throw squid, and you'd be the first boat out there. You can have 150, 200 of those, 15 to 30-pound fish, and you're the only boat out there with squid, and everybody gets to watch.
They get stupid.
And
they get stupid.
everyone watches, and everybody hates on you.
A lot of guys will drive away from that.
And a lot of people drive away.
Yeah.
And I know back in the day, when I worked the San Diego, back before San Diego, and you didn't see us all fishing on the bank together. And come November, and it was well known, if an LA boat was on the bank, don't even go. If the LA boat was out there in November on the Tanner or the Cortez, just drive away. Don't even try to fish, because San Diego boats had fin bait. We all had squid, and you weren't going to do anything except watch and catch bonita. Well, we wailed on bluefin and yellowtail.
Yeah, you have the magic bait.
Yeah, you had the
the magic
and
bait.
they were on it. Now, if you gave the bank 2 or 3 days, they're not like island fish. You gave those fish 2 or 3 days rest, they'd be back on the fin bait. But you couldn't have squid available because they wouldn't need a fin bait.
Well, anytime you put that out there as a mix, it's like going
Yeah,
to
do I
a restaurant.
do I have a prime rib, or do I have a pork chop?
Or you want a round steak where you're gonna break your jaw chewing on it. So no, pretty easy deal. The squid's squishy, and it's candy.
They like it.
That's why we call it candy.
All right, boys, hit that like button, everybody. There's a lot of people watching the show. Everybody's enjoying it. A ton of more comments. Will, you good for a little bit longer?
I can stay for about 10 more minutes,
All
and I
right,
got to get
we'll
out of
give
here.
Will 10 more. I see some questions up here.
We'll let traffic die down before I drive home. Now that you got me
Yeah,
here in
there
the
you
middle
go.
of
There
rush
you go.
hour.
We're
Yeah, it
getting
works
the
out.
bait
That's
of the
perfect.
traffic.
Yeah.
See what I get? I get a donut and a hang out.
Well, you can have
Yeah,
another
yeah.
I'm good. I'm good. I don't
Absolutely.
need
You
another
wire it
donut.
up a little more coffee, you'll be good to go.
Omar says fly fishing seems like one of those deep rabbit holes that suck you in. I
Good.
guess financially, right? Or however.
Any kind of fishing is a rabbit hole.
Yeah, and with fly, guys, don't let them kid you. There's a lot of, I'm going to tell you, it's almost like arrogance. You'll get the fly guys and out there, and they're going to say, well, I got to fish this. They want to fish the sage. When I used to represent a lot of this, like able reels and stuff like that. Yeah, they're fine reels. Do you need that? No, not really for trout. It's okay on tuna and stuff like that because it's got a nice drag. But after all, even an able reel, which is a very expensive fly reel, it's got a cork drag. There's nothing miraculous about and technical that we have compared to our saltwater reels, folks. So it's a
the
lot
cheap
different.
one that you got to use your palm of your hand to slow the reel
Yeah,
down.
you just hold it and palm it underneath, and depending on what you're fishing, But there's different levels that you can get into it with. But for that fly market, it was a totally different thing. Some of these guys would they would come to me and say, I'd rather sip fine wine in a lodge in Montana than catch fish. And I would just say, well, that's because you don't know how to fish, And I wouldn't pull any punches because I would get stupid statements like that. As far as I'm concerned, what do you go up there for? You go up there to fish. So don't tell me you're going to sit around fish, drink fine wine in a lodge rather than catch fish. Well, it's figuring it out, folks. With any type of fishing, it's figuring it out.
Let's say any kind of fish, and then will send you down a rabbit hole. If you get that technically into it, it's a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter
yeah.
what it is. It can
Yeah.
be any kind of fishing. Once it gets specific, you're shooting down a hole and you're spending money. It's a good habit to have. At least you're outside. At least you're exercising. There's worse habits to have than fishing.
And then, and there is times, folks, I'm going to go back and reiterate a little bit too. There are times when you get fish on a fly rod where you can't get them on a conventional. The perfect example was when Pete and I were down in Guyana and we're throwing these big lures where these arapaima are like a tarpon, right? But they got very sensitive ears. So after about 2 casts each, about maybe 4 casts hitting the water, they sink out. And they're air breathers, so they sink down. They'll be down there for 20, 30 minutes before
they come back up for
come back up for air. So unless you're making a perfect cast, you're not going to get a shot on the fish. However, when I saw this, and Steve had told me that, he told me to bring a fly rod. I go, are you nuts?
But you get a quiet entry.
But he was right. See, I could have made multiple casts without spooking the fish because you lay it down quietly. And yeah, on a 14 weight, you stand a chance because these impoundments where these arapaima are, it's only 4 to 6 feet deep. They can't go anywhere. There's tules on the edges, but if the fish starts taking these big 300-pounders, go for the tules, one of the guys will jump out, get in between the tules, and they veer out. So that's how we ended up landing. You ended up landing them. But I brought in a fly rod like he meant. He recommended. I see it now. It was my mistake for not listening to him. So, but there's times when you implement that tackle where it becomes effective, and it can happen on the saltwater too. So just keep that in mind. Just keep an open mind.
All right, Dan Smith says, you guys are cracking me up. I remember as a kid, the few times I fished the lakes, I had Velveeta cheese, and it was great on crackers, even with all the fish scales and salmon eggs all over my fingers. We've all eaten stuff like that.
Caviar
Yeah.
with your Velveeta.
Exactly. Hello, McFly is just dropping in to say hi. Good to see you here. Matthew Barron. Hi, guys. Matt here. Could you tell us your thoughts on using split rings?
Split rings for what? The jigs? They're fine as long as you use a heavy enough split ring.
I would use a Spro. They test out about
Spros are good ones.
Yeah.
Make sure you don't damage the rings. You get the right set of split ring pliers.
Yeah.
And you can open them. And some of the ones that are they're tougher to try to open them up, they end up blowing out if you try to get too big a hook in them. So you gotta watch it. That's what I say about split rings. Is
split ring pliers too.
You gotta have the right split ring pliers, the right hooks to put on there. If they're too big of a hook, they'll blow your split ring out. And once they get tweaked, they're smoked.
Right. Well, you've just basically tempered the.
Yeah, you just
tempered that still.
You messed it up.
Some of the best ones that I've ever fished were the Spros.
Yeah, the
strongest.
The hyper wire.
Yeah.
Hyper wires are good.
Yep.
All right, Matt Tamayo says, great show. Matt, thank you so much. Will, what is the biggest yellowfin tuna you've seen decked on the XL? And did you put a gaff in it?
The biggest one, the first trip I went down to the Potato, I was with the guy. He hung one and he lost it on a chunk, and then he got one that evening or that afternoon, and I believe it was a 324. It was a super cow, but it was on the chunk, and I didn't put a gaff in him. I might have put a gaff in it at the end. I didn't gaff it right off the bat, but I was pretty much with him the entire time. I was his assistant, not assistant, but coach, keeping him in the game. Biggest one I've ever stuck in a gaff in by myself, I think, was like a 250. It came up and it just died. It rolled over and I gaffed it in the stomach, and I came walking to the back of the boat, and the best remark I've ever heard from one of my fellow crewmates is, "Did you gaff that all by yourself?" Yep.
No other holes.
There's no other hole in it.
Come on.
Yep.
But you could figure that out.
I've in the most work I've ever gotten, I think I gaffed a 235 bluefin in the dark, and I hit it, and it probably yanked me 5 feet down the rail. And I held on. But it didn't get away. But when I hit it, it went, and I just kind of went with it.
Yeah, you just
so those big ones,
keep your feet on the deck. You didn't want to go wet.
But No, there's a lot of big fish. I can think of, the one that's beat us up the most. We gaffed a bluefin that was over 300 pounds, and it just destroyed us. I think we broke 2 gaffs.
Wow.
Thing just lit up on us in the bow, and it
Come in pretty hot. I mean,
no, the guy hooked it
just
on
had a
80
net
pound, and he couldn't move him. And when we gaffed him, he was not happy about it. And you're trying to put a gaff in it with one other person gaffing it. You're trying to knock the gaff out of the other one. It's going around in circles at 40 miles an hour in a circle. One guy's holding on. And you don't want to gaff over that gaff, because if you do, then you break the gaff. They wrap up like candy canes, and they twist and snap. So it was different, and you'd always, it's like those bluefin in the dark when people are like, oh, what's the scariest thing about catching bluefin? It's gaffing those things. Because when they come up that fast, you got a 150 pounder in 10 minutes.
It's just those night fish.
Yeah, and you look at it, and you're looking at your crewmate, like me and you talking, we're like, seeing this thing up, like, we're going to get so worked. Because you know it's coming. You're just going to, you're like,
You didn't fight while he was on the line.
And you're like, whatever you do, don't hit it in the head, don't hit it in the back. Just hit it in the stomach and hold on, and I'll back you up when I get you there. So but I'd say a 324 on the potato. And those big fish, normally the big yellowfin, after you gaff them, they're pretty much over. It's the 100, 150s that are
younger
mean.
ones.
Yeah. And the fish, honestly, like when I got to fish Guadalupe, you gaff a lot of those fish, and they just stopped. You hit them, you roll them over, and they're done.
Yeah.
They didn't want to keep going, but I learned from those guys, don't hit them in the head. It's a bad idea, because if you hit them right there in the chest, you got the best meat to hold on to them and to keep them from ripping out, and you're not sticking them right in their back.
Well, the only problem is, don't do that with a Buddha head.
I was gonna say.
No, they want. Well, on the big ones, they don't.
You don't want
mind,
it in the
but
sashimi, right?
If it's the 25 to 50 pound fish, yes, they want it right in the eyeball. They tell you, hit it in the eye or break it off. They don't care. Don't you hit it anywhere else.
Double eyeball shots.
Yeah. So the only bad thing about it, you hit a 100-pound fish in the eyeballs. Yeah. He's hooked in the eyeballs, and I've seen those fish like 125 jump over a gaff. You go to gaff them and they flip over the top of them. You're like, what the? Never even got a gaff in it. It just flipped over the gaff and just kept going.
Wow.
And you're like, what? And everyone's like, dude, I'm like,
Oops.
never even stuck it.
Oops.
Never even put a hole. Never even got to it. They just didn't want to be stuck.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Nelson DJ is thinking about going on the Condor. He wants to know your opinion about that boat. Anybody have an opinion they want to express?
Catches fish. They catch bluefin. It's a steel boat.
Yeah, steel boat.
They catch fish.
Gotta remember when they first. Was it Robbie Church? Who was the guys that first ran it up there? When it was Santa Barbara, right?
Yeah, it used to be at Santa Barbara. And it came down to.
I know.
A guy named Fred Banco. Wasn't
Banco.
it?
Well, he was the owner,
And
right?
Robbie Church.
Robbie. Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Robbie, yeah, he used to fish with Robbie.
Yeah.
Well, Robbie used to come down here and work. He was on the Freedom.
I mean, I got a
with
buddy that works
Conklin
on there.
and
It's
those
a good
guys
boat.
too. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Robbie ran the city of Redondo.
Yeah, Robbie was around a long time. Yeah.
Red
Robbie's
hair?
been around. Yes.
Tall, thin.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
it's a steel boat, so you're going to get a little better ride in the steel boat than you are in some of the plywood glass boats.
Absolutely.
All right, there you go, Nelson. Have fun on that one. JS, this may be a topic. Have you heard of the Chumash Indians working with NOAA to assist the regulations of our MPAs here off the Central Coast? You know anything about that, boys?
No idea. Sorry.
I know that
No
Indian
idea.
tribes get some exemptions, right?
They do.
they're out there throwing
I remember that
harpoons
up
at
in
sea
Oregon
lions
and
everything.
Oregon and
Lucky
Washington.
guys.
Yeah.
Will, be careful there. Yes. All right, Michael Tran. So he's listening to what you said about boats going out to the bank and throwing squid and everybody drives away. He's saying, hey, can I bring like some fresh dead or frozen squid out there? Would that work?
Yeah, it's not the same. I mean, you can bring your frozen squid if you want on the boat.
But would it work for like catching yellows and stuff?
Yeah. The problem with so when you buy bait squid, it's not the same as market squid. So you almost have to go to a fish market that sells 25-pound blocks of food grade squid to have the right quality, because most of the stuff that's sold in the bait stores is already tinged to pink, which it's already gone bad. By the time you defrost it, it's not good. you have to have the fresh, dead.
Fresh dead.
I mean, so that's the
All
problem with
that,
that.
the
It's
cartilage is perfect for
yeah.
the hook. There's
so
a lot of little different
you can
things.
try to do it with frozen,
Yeah.
but if it's not perfect,
Right.
it's hard. It's
Yeah.
it's not the same as having. You're not going to go out there with that and you don't have enough. What are you going to bring? 500 pounds of fresh dead?
Well, you know, and like you said, it depends on the species too. Because I mean,
Yeah, but I mean,
we can fish
yellows-
calicos all winter
Well,
with,
yeah,
with
calicos
frozen.
are great, but if you're going to try to go
frozen
out
and
and
stuff,
fish
but yeah.
bluefin and yellowtail at the bank,
It's a little bit different,
Frozen
yeah.
squid's not going to be
Yeah.
the deal.
Yeah.
You'll catch a lot of sheephead and whitefish that you're going to have to let go possibly, but
Yeah, that is for sure. All right, Michael, good question. Rick Slater for Phil. He's talking to me. Used to fish Oceanside Pier with a chrome sinker and treble hook. Then with a 10-cent rubber ball strung with a sinker through the middle and a feather fly. Fun times. Yeah, that sounds like fun, huh?
You know,
Yeah.
years ago, I remember Oceanside. I remember my grandpa going down there and telling me he used to just nail the sea trout. Well, you know what sea trout is, right? That's a short white sea bass. That was a long time ago, but then he would make those. He'd make those runs down the Oceanside just for those. You know, unbelievable. But yeah, there was a time.
Oh my
when you
God.
could keep everything.
Yeah, that was a
that's
long time
fine.
ago. Yeah. Yeah.
Matthew Barron says, thank you so much. You guys, cue ball wingman, nice to have in a battle like that. Woof. Peter Cepeda. Just joined. How are you guys doing? I have a 2-day trip this weekend on the True Line. Good luck to you, Peter. It's still good out there, man, huh? There's some awfully
There's
big
still
fish.
there's some good fishing still to be had. You got 2 days to do it, so you have other options. So you got options with John. You got options with Wanabe on the boat. He's not afraid to go. He's gonna do his best. So
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, and it's fishing.
yeah, I mean
It's fishing. We just don't know. We
it's
don't have the
adventure.
crystal ball.
It's the
Yeah. Yeah.
chance of catching a fish of a lifetime and going out there.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was telling like one of the guys today. He goes, "I'll see you in the morning for the El Patron trip," and I go, "Yeah, I think we're gonna go." And he almost cuts me off. He goes, "I just want to get out on the water."
Yeah.
He goes, "I'm good with, if whatever, I'm just." And I go, "Yeah, but I just want to let you, as long as we're out there eating a burger and the crew's nice and I'm in. I'm on." So some people do have that mentality.
And you know what? Yeah.
There's some. So I mean, even back when I used to go sport fishing, there's something about having a boat burger or a breakfast burrito. And I'm going to make myself sound so bad because I would go out on the 3/4-day boat on the Enterprise with Andy, and I would order a breakfast burrito at 6 o'clock in the morning and a beer. Why? Because I could.
No.
I didn't care. And everybody's like, "Really?" I'm like, "What? Don't judge me." I mean, it was just you're having it's your day off. You're having a good time, and I could care less what I caught. I was just out on the water. I was having fun, and you get to shoot the crap with the guys that work on the boats, some of the guys you go fishing with. It's a fun day on the water just to relax and get away from everything.
I agree.
I'll tell you a funny story. So down in the East Coast, this is when I was drinking, and when I drank, okay?
Are you one of those guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I had to quit finally. So we get on our cruiser for the day, and it's Pete Thomas from the LA Times, his brother, and somebody else. So we get on the boat. It's 5:30, and I'm drinking like all the beer. And so these guys are like, "We don't want to drink this early, but if we don't start, he's going to drink it all."
Yeah, you better start now because there'll be none left when I'm done.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Everybody sloshed like at 6:30 in the morning, and then coming back, I'm like, oh, my wife will kill me. Anybody have any breath mints?
That was in Mexico, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's fine then.
That's
Because there
another
ain't
one of those
nothing
places.
better. There was nothing better than eating your breakfast with a cold beer when I was down there, like in San Felipe. You order your breakfast and then just a cold cerveza right there, a Pacifico. Oh God, that was so awesome. It was good. Now I sound like an alcoholic, but not. But it was really good.
Hey, your microphone's rubbing up against your neck. There you go. Yeah. We're not letting you leave quite yet. Almost.
Here, that better?
There you go. That
Yeah,
might work.
perfect.
Sorry.
All right, good stuff, you
Probably
guys. I
making
love it.
noise.
All right, let's see. Some of the guys are chiming in about the Condor cue ball. I fished the Condor. It's a great boat. Good, new and programmed old kill fish. Okay. I think it's a great boat and it'll kill fish. Cue ball. Condor is huge, lots of room. Michael Tran said, thanks for your answer about the squid. Sea bass, did you say sea trout is similar to white sea bass? What?
Okay,
That's what they used to call a juvenile
Well,
sea
yeah. Well,
bass.
see. Okay, so in the Gulf of Mexico, they called speckled trout. They're called.
Yeah.
They're a croaker. They're just like our white sea bass. White sea bass are not sea
Exactly.
bass. They're a croaker.
Yeah.
They catch speckled trout, which are they have white trout, speckled trout. They're still a croaker. They're still like a red drum. They're all the same. They look like the corvina they catch in San Diego. Some people might call them a sea trout, but they're a corvina. So they look like a trout. They look like the trout they used to catch, back east. So they called them sea trout here.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, but they
No, I
weren't.
remember, yeah. Well, he said, like I said, I think my grandpa, when I was a kid, he used to call it juvenile sea bass.
Yeah, they
sea
look like a
trout.
sea trout. They have little
what they
teeth
call
on
it.
them. They're good
Yeah.
to eat. They're
And
pretty
they were
good.
delicious to eat.
Oh,
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
delicious.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
never ate one that was that short, but the big ones are delicious.
That's a fact.
Freddie Holy Spirit Fire is just having way too much fun, laughing it up. Peter says, on the burger, I think it's because you're on the water and it's hot and burgers just get the cravings going. Yeah, I don't know. If you had that same burger and you were landlocked, would it be the same? Is it the ambience?
So the closest thing you can throw at a boat burger would probably be the people that go to In-N-Out, because it's cooked on a flat grill, it's full of grease, it's not on a charbroiler, it's fresh made. It's right there. I had a guy that used to hate me because I'd tell him, I'm like, Del Taco makes a burger on a flat grill too, and oh man, he was like ready to fight me instead of Del Taco and In-N-Out burgers. Like, I can't believe you. But they're both cooked on a flat grill, so you still get the same greasy burger that's just
Delicious.
delicious. It falls, the bun's all greasy by the time you get to the bottom of it. It's good.
There's just something about it. I mean, but recently we've been spoiled. We've been really spoiled. I mean, over the years, we've watched such a huge evolution from the time we were on boats. I mean, that's what it was. Breakfasts. I thought we were getting innovative when we were doing fried rice
Or breakfast sandwich. Here,
Yeah.
have a breakfast sandwich.
Yeah. But it was a pain when you think about it. Well, think about it. Back in the old days, you had a breakfast. You'd have to make bacon, sausage, ham. And you never knew who was going to eat what.
No.
Back in the old days.
Back in the day. So I used to have
Right?
John Fulmer on the Tornado when I was pinhead, and that guy would cook bacon. And I remember going in there as a pinhead and go, John, can I get a breakfast sandwich with bacon? He just looked at me, get out of here. I got ham. I always got ham. And then all of a sudden he'd make me like a breakfast sandwich and have bacon on it. And you'd walk outside and you're like, dude, I got bacon. I mean, you'd be all excited because you got a piece of bacon instead of some ham. But I mean, but it was simplistic. It was a breakfast plate, a breakfast sandwich. You had a Polish sausage, if you wanted Polish sausage, or you had bacon or ham. That was that was it.
Come a long way, baby,
Yeah.
in the galley, I'll tell you, over
now
the
they have all
years.
kinds of things. Oh, and you
Yeah.
can sometimes get French toast.
Yeah.
Or not, French toast. But then ask
Yeah.
John Fulmer for French toast, and I better run fast because he's going to throw something at me through the galley.
All right,
Oh, that's
and
good.
JS says, Phil, and you guys are going to hear more about this Chumash Indian thing. So keep us up to date on that. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Tyler Tanaka, what's the number one thing guys wish they brought with them on their first long-range trip but didn't? I would say a masseuse, but I don't know about you guys.
It depends on how long the trip is. So, from my first long range trip I ever did, the only one I ever did, I did a 6-day, and I brought everything from 15 to 50 single speed and 40 to 80 pound 2-speeds. And we got down into that. We ran all the way down to the Uncle Sam Bank on a 6-day, and right off the bat, it was really good yellowfin fishing, but then it died off. And me having the ability to throw 20 pound on those fish was the difference between me catching fish and the guy that was throwing 30 pound. So nowadays, the good thing about it is everybody fishes braid to leader. So you can have that rod with 50 pound, 60 pound, or 50 pound braid, and you can cut off 20 feet of line and put on
Top
a
shot
top
of fluorocarbon.
and you're good to go. You know,
The
but
versatility on the
Yeah.
tackle now, yeah.
I would say bring
Yeah.
long range favorite thing to. It's such phenomenal fishing down
Yeah.
there. You're going to do everything. If you like to fish surface iron and you're afraid to bring the surface rod, no, bring your jig stick. Bring your jig stick down there, catching yellowtail on the surface iron, catching tuna on the surface. It's awesome. It's fun.
Yeah,
I
you don't
mean,
want that remorse.
you don't want to leave any of that stuff at home that you like to
No,
fish
absolutely.
up here. Take down there. And those
Absolutely.
guys down there, when you get on the boat, ask them. You know, being down there. I thought I knew a lot when I started, and I learned a lot from those guys. So there's
Right.
a lot of different little things that they do down there differently than the people do up here. So, and they're great fishermen. They
You know, with the
do it.
now too, with the line of information on the computer and everything, and all your reports that you're getting, you get up to date stuff. But you don't ever want to get caught short and saying, "God, I wish I would have brought that stick." Bring it. You can always just keep it up on top. Just keep it bundled if it's the case. But once you're there, you're not
can't-
going
you
home to
can't-
get
yeah,
it.
you
You
can't go
can't.
home
It's
and
not
get
gonna. Yeah, it's not gonna reappear. So it's always better to have it with you guys.
All right, Freddie, Holy Spirit Fire wants to know if my mic is on. We can hear you, but you're not as crisp. You know, the Friedman Adventures budget is not big enough to have 3 mics. We only have 2 mics. So I'm back here screaming, Freddie, and that's the way it is right now. So sorry about that. Peter Cepeda, thoughts on Constitution sport fishing going in a couple of weeks? Anybody got any thoughts on Constitution? I interviewed Steve, the kid that runs it. Nice kid. He is boyfriend with Robin Yoshihiro. Do you know Robin?
Oh, do I
Yeah,
know?
right.
Well, I know Robin's uncles
Oh, okay.
and her dad. Bobby
Yeah,
was one
yeah,
of
Bobby.
the. Bobby was on the Fortune when we first brought the Fortune into Islandia and Gigi ran the boat.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, Bobby's a great guy. Knew him
Bobby was
really
great.
well.
Yeah, and we miss him. You know, he was a
So
good kid.
I see
yeah.
Steve, man. He seems to be on it. He's doing a really good
Cool.
job. So
Awesome.
I think they're doing good. Albert Ponce, good evening, fellas. Hey, Albert, Feliz Dia de Independencia. It's Mexican Independence Day tomorrow. And we're on the El Patron. It couldn't be any better. I'll tell you that right now. Cue ball, I want to cook on a boat. Man, do I got a burger. Grind my own chuck. Ooh, that sounds good to me. Let's get this guy out
Does he
there.
really? But then he's not going to want to do it because now we're going to depend on him to grind his own meat up. So he's going to be working at
That's
home
work.
to bring to the boat. Yeah, you're working. It
You'll
sounds
figure
like
it
a
out.
great idea.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Sounds like a
There
great
you go.
idea until you put it into motion.
Yeah.
Hit that like button, everybody. Kim Herbert says, on an octopus hook, offset eye, is it better to tie direct or snell?
The octopus hook is made to be snelled. So it depends on what, and that's the weak point of that hook. If you tie directly to it, you get a different pull.
Yeah.
If you snell it, it's coming. That's why it has the little angle off.
You
of
want
it.
it to.
You want it to go straight in
snell
there, and
make the
snell,
hook.
yeah, and it pulls straight. Where if
That's right.
you tie it on the line, well, now you got a weak spot because the hook's not made to be pulled like that. It's made to
Exactly.
be snelled. So
And that
don't-
angle- the
don't use
hooking
that
angle
don't use
has
that
to
for
do with
live
the
bait.
snell.
You don't want an octopus hook, that's snelled like that. That's got the little offset to it. If that's the way it's made, that's not the one you want. They'll hold as long as you have the right knot on them. You can catch a big fish on one of those, Gamakatsu, octopus hooks. That's what we use for salmon fishing, but everything was snelled. So they don't, you get that
Right.
straight pull on that opposed to there's leverage that once that eye's got that angle on it, it changes the entire
Well,
direction of the hook.
When you did your snell, you probably had it where you could pull the loop so you could slide the eggs down and pull the loop tight, right? And have the egg sac, the salmon egg sac.
Oh, this
you ever
was
did that?
at Walter. No, I didn't do that.
Oh, we used to do that on the rivers.
Well, I didn't fish a river. I fished out in the ocean.
no,
I had to
we
learn
did
how
this
to
on the
cut plug
rivers.
herring and all that other stuff. Tie two snelled hooks.
Yeah.
That thing was a
Yeah.
pain in the butt. I got really good at snelling hooks though.
All right. Rick Slider, or yellowfin croaker. We caught white sea bass and were described as sea trout. What are your favorite
That's right.
fish to eat? Danny?
Well, my very favorite, it's called a baqueta. It's deep water grouper down in Mexico, and then second to that would be a cabria. But to me, those are probably, to me, they're my favorite eating fish of all time.
Will?
Favorite eating fish. People are going to hate me.
Calico bass.
They are very good eating.
Oh, yeah.
Calico
Oh,
bass.
yeah.
Okay, now here's the second one. It's hard to find. So if you go freshwater fishing, crappie are awesome with some with a little bit of that cornmeal and some sugar. Oh, those are awesome to eat. And bluegill, believe it or not, are really sweet flavored meat, but it's hard to catch the ones that are hand size. And I got lucky enough to fish in the Gulf. I actually got to eat the regular red snapper, and those are pretty tasty fish and chips. So, but out here, I'd say probably if I had to fish offshore or catch something to eat, calico bass is pretty hard to beat.
Yeah,
They're
calico's
pretty flaky
for around
white
here.
fish.
Rockfish.
Yeah,
white
you know what?
halibut.
Out of the
Really good.
rockfish, you know what my favorite is? The chili.
I love chili peppers.
Yeah, they're great.
They were so easy to cut too,
They're
and they're
easy to
nice and
fillet,
thin.
man.
Beautiful fillets.
Yeah.
But they had
Oh.
they had the texture and flavor too.
Yeah, they just didn't freeze. They had the thinner skin, so
Yeah.
they weren't as desired. But those
Right,
things were
right.
awesome in
Yeah.
400, 500 feet of water
Yes,
out there in the
exactly.
Chesapeake back in the day.
Yep.
Little 4-pound chili pepper.
Oh.
Doing those things
They
were
were
awesome.
excellent.
Tyler Tanaka said that the audio cut off at the best thing to bring is, I can't remember what we were talking about, Tyler. You're going to have to refresh our memory.
I think the best thing to bring on a long range boat
There you go, yeah.
was anything that you want to bring. Don't leave anything at home. If you got a jig stick and you want to bring a jig stick, bring a jig stick. If you got swim baits that you want to throw plastics, bring them. They're not going to tell you no. It's just those fish down there. If you want to try to catch a fish on something that you have if you want to get better at surface iron fishing, bring a surface rod. You know, like my trip, I brought the 20-pound. I tell you a story. I was on the Rooster and we were fishing Bonitas, and we pulled up on this spot. They're doing a chum circle and see these little 8-pound yellows crashing behind the boat and boiling. And I worked on the half-day boat. I grabbed my jig stick and I drug that surface iron right back there. I think I had 3 fish before the boat stopped.
Oh,
I was just skipping them across the
Who,
stern.
who was running the boat? Who was running the boat?
Grabowski. And some of the deckhands, they looked at me.
John
and they
didn't say
shook their-
anything?
No, they didn't say anything. And they just shook. The deckhands shook their head. And
Oh,
they looked
God.
at me. They're like, "You have no idea what you just started." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "You'll see." And sure enough, the next spot we were fishing this pinnacle, and we're in 40 fathoms of water. And he's driving around looking for it, and I'm sitting back there. I got my heavy jig tied on. I'm waiting, and the deckhand taps me on the shoulder. I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Look." And there were 7 guys behind the boat dragging jigs out in 40 fathoms of water behind the boat. He goes, "You did that." I'm like, "But we're not."
John didn't call you up to the
You
little
did
house?
that." No, John. I got yelled at by John for touching one of my fish.
Oh, my God.
He yelled at me because I bounced a yellowfin, and I told the deckhand, "Don't worry about it. I got it." And because it was wide open fishing, I was catching them on 40 pounds. So
Yeah,
I bounced it over the
yeah.
side, a little 10-pounder. I'm like, "I got it. Don't worry about it." And I picked that fish up, and all I heard was, "Put that fish down." And I just turned around and looked at it. He goes, "Put it down." I just set it down on the deck. He goes, and he comes over and he unhooks it. He goes, "I don't want to see you do anything except eat, use the head, and sleep. Your job is to fish and do nothing else. I got 8 crew members to unhook your fish. You don't touch a thing." I said, "Okay." And from that point on, all the deckhands knew I worked on a boat. And I just look at them and go, "Deckhand, deckhand." And they're just like, "You son." I was like, "Deckhand." But I mean, it's if you've never been on a long range trip and you love fishing, jump on an 8-day.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't do if you're gonna do a long range trip, go on an 8-day. Go on an 8-day in like August, September. Go down there when there's
Yeah,
variety and you can get
You
down
got
there.
the whoos, the
You
tails.
can catch a possible wahoo,
You
you,
name
can
it,
catch
yeah.
yellows, you can
Yeah.
catch, if you want to get on a discount one and the cheaper ones, go on an 8-day in May or June. You're not going to catch any wahoo, but you can catch some yellowfin. You'll catch probably the best yellowtail fishing you've ever had.
Oh, yeah, yeah. At the rocks? Oh, my God.
At the rocks, even at the ridge.
Get out there and fish the salamis. Go down there and
We
catch.
didn't fish we had really good yellow fishing this year right there on the rocks where it wasn't on the bank in 50 fathoms in the dark.
Yeah.
and it was really good fishing, fly lining sardines, or actually dropper loop fishing, you know. And it was fun. It was all 25, and we had 3 fish that were over 50 or 60 pounds that were just giant yellows.
One of the last times we got down there early in the morning, and we had we made a tank of scads probably in half an hour.
Those big ones.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we're dropping down 100 and 130, never made bottom. And we didn't have any small fish. I was the first time I didn't even keep a limit. I got up to about 12, and I'm thinking,
What am I going
I'm
to do
not
with,
thinking, what am I going to do with 15? I'm thinking what my processing
gonna-
bill is
yeah,
right
for-
now, and I'm going,
when they're all
I'm
25,
done.
when they're all
I'm
25
done.
to 35 pound
Oh,
fish,
yeah.
you're like, what do we
Oh,
do
and they
with
were
these
bigger.
things? Oh, they got the 40
we had
pound
some
bottles.
nice ones, yeah. So I said, okay, I
There you
think
go.
You
I'm
good, Phil?
done.
I guess. See, we get to talking, and me and Danny just go off into tangents about everything.
I'm telling you.
It's all their fault.
I know. What's your favorite jig stick, and what's the favorite length? How long should a jig stick be?
My favorite jig rod, that's I'm old school. I fished a T100 cut down 6 inches off the butt. I like the T100 because it wasn't too big. A 540 was too thick because I like to fish a 322 newel. Back then I wanted the narrow
Oh,
reel.
yeah.
And then I went to a 332.
99 size.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I wanted something that would fit, and that T100 was, you know,
Well, the diameter, yeah.
the diameter was small, but you could load up and you could throw a 7X. A lot of people like the Alua. The problem, a lot of guys now want to fish fast action graphite jig rods. When you want something that's parabolic that you can unload, only problem with a jig rod is they're fun until you get straight up and down on them and you find out they hurt you. There you go.
This is straight graphite, folks.
Oh gosh.
This is what I would. It's super high performance. I mean, it'll
Is it
cast a
parabolic
mile.
or is it fast?
No, it's pretty quick. It's pretty quick. It loads, but I designed that mainly for throwing 45s. And stuff, you know. But you know, when you start fishing this, and we use the graphite handle, I mean, it throws it out of sight. I think when I built the first prototype, I took it over to Taddy. I had Joey fire a 45 light, and it went 82 yards into the wind. He just came back from hunting. We took his rangefinder and shot it out there into the wind. It was 80-something.
What reel was he using?
He was using an old Pro Gear. You know, so I mean,
Some of those
stuff,
things are.
But
Now, see, what I found a lot of people throw now, which I think decreases their distance, they throw tranks. They throw a level wind heavy-duty bass reel, and that level wind does not give you the distance that a open fade, like a Trinidad or a Torium or any of those reels that have a free flow.
you want it disengaged. You don't want to have anything going back and forth. Yeah.
I mean, now
Exactly.
I
Well,
can
I'm old
see
school
with
about
I can
that.
see with those. I had a learning curve on those because I got so used to loading up a full-on fiberglass rod that those ones didn't. You had to throw them a little bit different than you could on.
Oh yeah, you have to load it. And well, it's just like fishing it too. You know, you don't want it up high because you're actually. This is the thing I try to tell a lot of these kids.
But see, then
you
you
get it up high,
a
and
fiberglass rod. You want it up high because that's where your leverage is. You want the thing almost up,
the only
not
problem
high
is,
stick, but
what you ought to do though is when you put it on the scale and you quantify it, you've got probably 1/10 the pressure up here than you do. Well, you know, I'm at the rail down.
no. But I
'Cause
mean,
I'm old,
on
because you're
a
gonna-
T100,
Oh,
when
yeah.
you're lifting on
No,
it,
no,
you
no,
want
I know.
it's a different
I know.
angle.
Totally different.
Totally different beast. Those ones you gotta have a little bit different action to them.
But the recovery is like this, not like. So I mean,
So
when you put
for
the screws
those,
to
then
it-
I would have to fish lighter drag because I'd be afraid I'd pull the hooks on them.
no, because you're going to keep it coming the whole time. Every time
I
they
like
kick,
it.
they're going to be kicking right at you.
See, I like Taddy's jig stick they made. Vance that runs the XL now, he had one of those, and he'd take that thing down there, and
Yeah.
that thing was so much fun to catch fish on. I mean, there's videos of him hooking like a 70-pound tuna on that thing, and he's got the thing bent over, and he can put the wood to him.
I did a 140 bluefin on the same blank,
Ew.
fishing bait, just to see what it would do. But you know, once again, and this is why I reiterate to our people out there, it's about keeping you're getting so much more pressure at that angle, at the rail down. You know, and I think I've equated this to you guys all many times before. When it's down at 30 degrees, your pressure is 10 times what it is up here.
Cool,
You
and
know,
you're not
especially
killing
with
your
graphite.
back.
Yeah, and you won't blow the graphite either. That's the other thing. That's my concern. But when you're getting a faster recoil and that much more, 60-something pounds of pressure as opposed to,
Well, that's the old way we used to fish a long time. You'd sit there, even on those other ones, that people look at you funny because you'd have the rod pointed down and the tips barely bent, and you lift and you take a quick wind down, and you lift and you take a quick wind, and people are like, "What are you doing?" And
because you're getting the line.
because and the fish would never, the line would never come off the spool. But you'd have the guy that was out like this, and after about 15 minutes, he was smoked.
Zzz, zzz, zzz,
Yeah, his whole back would just start hurting.
zzz, zzz, zzz. No. It's about-
But
We'll teach you guys
We got
in
off.
time
We
here.
got the topic.
Yeah,
so you
no,
like
no,
that
that's
one?
cool. Yeah.
I like a T100.
Yeah.
I like a fiberglass
Yeah.
rod because I'm more old school.
Yeah.
I'm not so much the composite.
I
or
like the
full
graphite because I'm not old school. I'm old. And it's light and it performs.
See, we could have a whole conversation on surface iron fishing and wiring jigs and all that other stuff that people don't even do anymore.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah, we go back
yeah.
on all that. Jeez.
All right. Peter Cepeda wants to know what the difference between Opsin fluorocarbon and Seagar fluorocarbon. That's easy. Opsin is a proud sponsor of Friedman Adventures. Seagar isn't. I don't know. Do you guys know what the difference is?
Fluorocarbon's fluorocarbon.
I have not done any testing since I was back in the tackle industry. We were working with Suffix and all those guys. But then I made the fluorocarbon just overall has made a phenomenal difference. Where we can literally on some type of fisheries go from spectra to straight fluorocarbon and you're dangerous with some fish. Some you're not. I mean, I got spanked on that Freedom trip initially thinking, making these long casts, I'm casting past all those guys, but the top shot was too small, and
They
you're
could
dealing
see
with
it.
bluefin. Hey guys,
You almost
bluefin,
want to go. You
bluefin
almost want to
has the
go.
eyes.
You almost want to go with that 25 feet of mono and that little 4-foot section.
I
of
had to go with more
fluorocarbon.
than 25. I had to go more than 25 to get bit, and trust me, I was fishing against all the boys, all the 30 captains. So I learned real quick. And
That little
and-
3-foot piece of
I used to,
fluoro.
when you go down below, you're fishing long range, you get spoiled. Short top shots, a fluoro,
Well, yeah, the
to
fish are
spectra,
stupid.
Yeah, exactly.
Fish
I
are
like
dumb.
stupid fish, but
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
when you
long
get up
range
there on the
fishing, stupid
bluefin on the
fish.
bank on tenor, I had to go. Even my 25 didn't have a long enough top shot. I went to my 30, and thank God I got bit on 30 because we were started hanging those nicer fish. But yeah, you learn. But boy, you're in a panic learn because you got the other guys hanging fish. The only thing I got lucky
So you
about
got
was
spoiled and forgot what you learned up here before, and then I'm going to go, and it didn't work.
we learn something
Ratted
new every
yourself
day.
out.
Yeah.
All right, Q-Ball says he doesn't think you can find a bad boat in the San Diego fleet. They are the finest fishermen in the world. West Coast, baby. And then Seabass comes in and says, Q-Ball, the fleet up north, could outfish those guys any day of the week. Woo! I'm not
there's-
getting involved in this one at all.
There's guys down there that are really good at what they do, and there's guys up here that are really good at what they do.
Yeah,
There's
this is
very
what-
few guys that can do both.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Well, some of the transient guys, but the guys that do fish down below strictly are going to be better down there.
yeah,
down
they're
below.
better. They're a lot of times
Yeah,
they're
there
better
just
offshore
is.
anglers
Yeah.
because that's what they do all the time.
Yeah.
And if you don't fish offshore up here enough, it's hard to fish offshore all the time and know what you're looking at.
Yeah.
I mean, take for example, any of the long range guys when they tell you look for a flat spot, and you're like, what? I mean, when I first on the boat, they're like I'm looking for a flat spot. What are you talking about? And pretty soon, once you see those spots of bluefin when they're up moving, and you can spot them, or you see them shining. And if you're not looking for them, or you don't know what you're looking at, but those guys are so cued in on fishing that offshore stuff that they can see flat spots from a
That's
half
right.
mile away
That's right.
that we can't.
That's
The
right.
average person doesn't see it, but man, once you get cued in on it, you can see them everywhere.
right.
There's one over there. There's one over there. There's one over there. Oh, shiner! And they're like, "What are
That's
you talking
right.
about? What's a shiner, Mike? See that big? You see those fish going through the swell right there? They're shining." And they have no idea what you're even looking at. But they do that. But then you bring them up here, and they try to island fish. They're in left field because they don't island fish. They fish the
That's true.
Coronados,
That's
but
true.
the Coronados aren't Catalina or San Clemente Island. It's like trying to take me or you and go fish the Channel Islands. It's not, me and you would probably
and then,
struggle.
And then I'll tell you, the one thing that was a game changer too was when George and I went down with the Color Westmores in '81.
Well, yeah, that was the side scan.
Yeah,
the
man, the
sonars
guys
back
are
then.
going, what the heck's going on? Everybody's straight tracking and the troll, and we're doing squigglies and stop, But that changed the game, but it also helped bring the fleets together.
Yes.
Because nobody was working. Everybody had their own code groups, and they would go, "Hey, you want to come in our code group?" We go, "No, we're cool." But there's a lot of that type of stuff that went on that a lot of guys don't understand. I mean, that changed a lot of the way we did things. It was all good.
It is, and
Yeah.
there's, like I said, there's great fishermen in both fleets.
Oh,
I don't knock
absolutely.
any of them because they all
Absolutely.
do this for a living,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
and it's a hard business. It really is. It's not an easy business. It's tough to go out every
my
day and
hats
try
off to these guys because I remember what it was like.
Ugh, I'm still in it.
Yeah, yeah.
Years of bad life choices.
Hats
Here we
off
go.
to you.
Thanks.
All right, boys. Ken Trenholm says, "Hi, Phil and crew. I have a freshwater what if for you. What if pro bass guys have to fish with barbless hooks like we do at Lake Barrett?"
What about them?
I don't know.
What if? Have you not watched those guys? Those guys hook fish, and they're machines. Half the time the fish they hook skips across the water and comes straight into the boat. So you're not fishing a barbless hook or not, that fish ain't going anywhere because you got pressure on them the entire time. They're probably some of the best guys at not fishing drag on a bait caster. They can pop the reel in and out of gear.
Yeah,
the
there's
back
time-
reel.
yeah.
They're
Yeah. No, they got it
you're-
going.
they're probably some of the best anglers. They're at that elite status because they are at that status. Not just because they had the money to play, but because they got themselves there. And to get yourself to that position is an intensely a lot of amount of work that you just don't even see.
Yeah, but you know what? I'll tell you what. To be honest with you, I would take Grabowski, the Sansom brothers, Stinger, and all of us, and I'd put it up against those guys any day of the week. Taka, and I think we'd smoke them. We would smoke them.
There's some guys.
Oh,
that
it's a
you
little
can't-
different, but I
No,
guarantee
there's
you,
some. Well, there's some that can
there's
do
a few.
both.
Yeah.
You get
Yeah.
Ish. Ish can fish. Ish fishes offshore just as much as he fishes bass. So, I wouldn't put money against that guy at all. He's a good fisherman. Period. But yeah, a lot of those guys fish both. But
Yeah. Yeah.
some of them are just fishy. I mean, if you took the top 10, I mean, you're talking. Some of the older captains, but then again, they fish both. You understand both. You can utilize it to your advantage. You see things. You start to recognize things.
I'll watch some of these tournament Bassmaster things during the weekend, and I'll watch these guys reach up and grab their rod halfway up and do this. I'm going, that's a no-no. I mean, if it's straight graphite, that's a no-no. You just put a shutoff point right there. I mean, yeah, you're getting the rods for free. Well, that's cool, but it's something I wouldn't teach.
No,
You're
I
a
did that.
novice
I
angler,
did that
you know
a
what I
couple
mean?
years
Yeah.
ago, and I snapped my rod in half.
Exactly.
I knew better too, and I
exactly,
lifted
and
it
that's
up
why I
and
see these guys on TV doing that. I go,
and I
what
snapped
are you
my
showing
rod.
these people?
Well, no, and now
You know?
they have that. They have that no touch the carpet thing, so they automatically boat flip them, and they try to catch them. And I see more rods blow up because the minute that graphite rod's 80 to 90 degrees straight up in the air and comes down and loads, it explodes.
Well, do they bounce fish like you and I? No. They don't have it free spooled where you get it going on in the air and you kick it down and it just drops. They don't. They don't know how to do that. They don't.
But they
fish
can't
like
touch
that.
the carpet now.
Yeah.
But anyways, back to the question.
Yeah,
I don't think it would.
it's different.
I don't think it would make a difference, barbless hooks or not. Like you'd have to fish at Barrett. I think those
Yeah.
guys would still catch fish.
Martin,
Oh, yeah.
what line is appropriate for the number 4 owner Mutu light circle hook? Also the regular Mutu and the super Mutu.
So a number 4 light Mewtwo, I
Yeah.
wouldn't fish anything over 20 pound, because that hook is so small. You fish 20 pounds pushing it. I'd probably say 15.
I
The
agree.
Mewtwo you can probably get away with about 40, and then you need to go up to the super Mewtwo if you're going to fish bigger fish, heavier in line than 40. It's just you got to go to a bigger hook.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
a heavier gauge. The super Mewtwo, if you're going to fish that, has to be on. If you're fishing on 50 to 60 pound line, I've seen I mean, it's not an owner or the Mewtwo hooks, but Mustads. I mean, I'm not sure if you're even sponsored by Mustad. If not, I'm sorry. But we
Well,
fished.
we've gone through the gambit. Yeah,
We fished the circle, the Demon Circle hooks, and we'd go to Guadalupe, and their 2.0s were 3x. Problem is, a 3x hook would bend out on 40 pounds, so you had to go
4Xs.
4x's, but they didn't
Yeah.
make a 4x, so you had to go to a Gamakatsu Nautilus or a Mewtwo, that was a little heavier gauge to make them work. So it depends on the wire gauge and stuff like that. You got to really watch it. Don't throw a light wire 2.0 hook on 30 pound. You're gonna have a bad result.
I think Phil, we talked about that even on that one trip we had, where I had to go through a progression of hooks as I scaled up because I was straightening out gummies. I mean, you get bit good because it's 350 milligrams with the ring, but
But
on
when it comes
albacore,
back,
it's awesome.
yeah.
But not on
bigger bluefin. Not
Nope.
20,
No.
25 pound bluefin, great. But if
Yep.
you've got the chance of hooking a 60 pounder, he's going to straighten that hook out, and you're going to come back with
I did.
It's going to come
And
back.
I straightened-
It's not even going to look like a J hook. It's just going to come back and look
I
like
straightened out a couple of them. Yeah, I
like
went
an
through a
opened up
progression.
sea.
Yeah.
All right,
You
good
learn.
stuff. And by the way, you guys, Seabass and Cue Ball are still going at it over whether the Northern Fleet or the San Diego Fleet is the best. We'll let those boys settle that
They
one.
can settle that one. I've got friends in both sides, so I'm not going to badmouth anybody because they're all great fishermen.
There you
Absolutely.
go. Marcus of Queensberry rules, boys. Be nice, okay? Daniel Liano says, you guys are hilarious. I don't know if he's talking about Cue Ball and Seabass. You guys, I don't know. Kim Herbert just finished a grass-fed, homegrown beef burger. Man, that sounds
Oh, Missouri.
good. Joys of living in Missouri.
Oh, my God.
We got people watching from Missouri. Kim, save me one of those. Brian Harnell, I've been at Anacapa when the black sea bass were a bigger nuisance than the sea lions. How's that? I've seen that kind of stuff.
You know,
I've seen that at San Clemente.
I missed that trip at San Nick one time. We had an opportunity to go out there, and the white sea bass were biting, right? And we got blown out. But I mean, that was the biggest problem. I went out there. I was going to pin a sea bass, a white sea bass, to hang a black just to do it. They're telling me they're eating them right there, and I go, oh my God. And we lost the trip because of the weather.
Remember we used to be able to catch those little 6-pound yellows, 7-pound yellows on the front side of Clemente.
Yeah.
I remember, but when you'd catch like 150 to 200 of them, they'd up, you'd catch them breezing. And I remember stopping and hooking when we were catching them, and this guy was just getting smoked on 40 pound. And we finally stopped it, and we got up. It was like a 300-pound black that had that 8-pound yellow down his throat. And then you'd hook like a 15-pound yellow, and you'd be pulling the thing up, and all of a sudden from underneath you just see this gigantic shadow. And right about the time it'd get about 30 feet from the boat, that thing would just come up, and you're like, what? They're like, is that a sea lion? The thing
You
would
see
just
his
open his
mouth.
mouth up,
Yeah.
swallow it, and just swim away.
Been there.
And you couldn't do nothing. He just, and he just, away he went. And the only thing you do is put your thumb on the spool, and either he's going to spit it out or let it go. And I've had him eat halibut off your hook.
Holy smokes.
Like at Catalina, when they eat, you'd come back and your halibut was just scraped clean, like somebody put it through a scaly machine.
I remember those WFO bites on calicos at Clemente, and all of a sudden it's just like a light switch.
Shut off, the
Shut
blacks
off.
move in,
And
and the
guess what?
calico's bailed.
Yep. And then you'd
know.
see a mouth, and
See, I wanted to fish a
There it is.
lobster. I wanted to try a whole lobster at Guadalupe to catch a black.
like
And
a
I could-
crawdad, big crawdad.
Yes. And they
Oh, I'm
wouldn't-
in for that.
And they wouldn't let me
Let me
do
know.
it. We got
We'll
the
go crawdad
lobsters.
fishing for bass.
We got the lobsters,
Saltwater.
and they wouldn't let. They were like, "No, you're having that for dinner." I'm like, "But I want to put it on a hook." And they're like, "No."
Hey, Matthew wants to know how long should a bait casting rod be?
How long should a bait cast? Depends on what you're fishing
What do you
for.
exactly? What are you?
What are you
fishing for?
doing with
Say
it?
like an island trip, you're fishing bass.
7-6 to 8 foot for a bait caster.
And I think a lot of it has to do on your casting ability too.
But you want the longer. You want that 7-6 to 8 foot, so you can get it out there with whatever you're doing.
And if you want to be outside the realm of everybody else, 9. But it depends on the shut off on your rod, and it's got to be designed for whatever line you're fishing. So.
Brian Harnell says there's hybrid spots at Paris Lake to this day.
I'm not sure if-
Hybrids, yeah.
There might be some there, but there's not as many as they used to be.
Yeah,
The
no, it used to
spots
be-
are spots are pretty much they're non-existent at Paris from what they used to be.
Yeah, I mean there was well, you can tell by the head size and everything and the coloring.
They
know,
lost
but
one
those-
good. They lost one or two good years of spawn there, and that shut them off. They can't compete. And now they got the big bluegill that are in there that kind of decimated the spotted bass population.
Oh wow.
Well,
That's too bad.
they ate the eggs.
Yeah.
They originally stocked Paris with green sunfish and spotted bass because they live together, and you know the
Down
environment
south in
down
Alabama?
south in Alabama. And yeah, guys did throw some largemouth in there from other lakes. They brought them. That didn't kill the spotted bass because they still coexisted. But when they stocked the bigger sunfish for the pan fishermen, that changed the whole game. They spawn at different rates. They spawn more often. They pick off the smaller spots. You know, the fries. It kind of they're a great idea. You know, and then the perfect storm of where you lose. They drop the lake and you lose an entire spawn of spots.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's hard to come back from that when
Yeah.
you don't have that generation there.
That's right. That's right. I missed my opportunity when Gil called me. I should have gone. You know, but
Hey, boys, we're way behind on questions, and I know
Go
you.
ahead.
Oh!
Sorry, I know.
So
I
we'll make
probably
Sorry,
should
guys.
go.
No,
Sorry,
no,
guys.
No. We'll make this a little more rapid fire.
Okay.
All right, and then once we
Got
catch
it.
up, we can take some more time. Favorite mono and hooks?
Big game mono hooks depends. Gamakatsu or mustads.
I've been using my Sea Daddy Russ Iser's line all my life, pretty much. You know, and his fluoro everything, and I have it on hooks. It really depends. I mean, overall maybe a mustad, but I mean I have specialty hooks for absolutely everything.
If I'm fishing islands
it's
for
touchy.
yellowtail up here, for squid and sardines, nothing is better, in my opinion, than a old Eagle Claw Laser Sharp. The LM119s was the best short shank, wide gap live bait hook
Yeah.
that wouldn't straighten out, that had a bite that you could actually put a hook in a fish and hold.
You know, on light line, bluefin, anything like with the chovy, I use the Gamakatsu, and it's the ringed hook.
The Nautilus or
The light wire.
the J or
Yeah,
the
and
Serpent?
I'm talking about smaller, you know, like I say, smaller albacore and school size stuff. But it would hold that up to 20-pound fish pretty well without straightening out. But it weighs 350 milligrams.
There you go.
And it
There's
gets bit
some
like
answers.
it gets bit unreal because it's so light.
All right, Martin wants to know the difference between the all-glass CalStar 100J versus the 540 versus the T100.
A T100 is just one. If you have a BT 100, which is a black, a T100 is tan. 540 is all fiberglass. It's a thicker butt. They're both. And then a 540, I believe, is 9 foot, not 10. Or is 540 to 10?
I think so.
It was a 530 was 9 foot. A 540 was 10, but a 540 had a thicker handle, and a T100 was narrower. It was a smaller handle.
All right, Halibut Man Mitchell says he already went out and drank beer and had wings. He came back. He
And we're
said, "You guys are still on. I love it." So he's got a
Imagine that.
question. What was the name of the boat that the Wahoo jumped through the galley window on?
I think that was a Royal Polaris.
Was it?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, that
I
was
think it was.
somebody whining a jet. I've never
Yeah.
seen it happen, but yeah, you don't wind bombs very fast.
Yeah,
You stop
yeah.
them 15 feet before the boat. I've seen them come up and eat it right then and there. But yeah,
They're crazy. Those things are nuts.
that's not something I want to see happen. I don't want to see some 50
Yeah, they're a little
pound
dangerous.
missile.
They got a hard head and they got the teeth. Oh man.
They don't even look like they're sharp.
Andrew says he's had a learning revelation, and that is that he'll take high swells and high wind over below freezing and snowing any day of the week. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Probably neither.
Yeah, I want to stay home on either one of those.
Yeah.
I'm good.
You're tough.
Mother Nature is
You're
mean.
tough.
I don't want to do either one of those.
I used to do stupid stuff, but I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
we grew
you're
up.
tough. Yeah.
I don't know
old.
if we got old or we got smart.
That's going to be a tough one to figure out too.
Sarah's up in Montana. She said it would be so cool to fish with some of the major league fishing and Bass Pro guys. I'm a competitive fisherwoman sometimes, so I'd like to give my best shot to keep up with those guys. Yeah, it would be fun.
Absolutely.
Why not? Go back.
Go for it. Yeah.
Go in one of the the divisions, they got all the different MLF Opens and stuff like that. Pro-Ams, sit in the back of a boat. Go fishing. It's an awesome experience. I've done it. I mean, some of those guys are really good sticks. You know, you can learn
A lot to
from,
learn, yeah.
learn a lot from the guy. If you get the right guy in the front of the boat, he'll teach you a lot.
There you go.
Gizmo, what's a good cheap rod for small to medium tuna to go with my Penn Fathom 40?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Daiwa makes some pretty.
Daiwa makes
stuff.
some good ones. Kuma makes their PCH series, which is a great rod, and it's affordable. It might be one of the more affordable, you know, wrap rods with components. That's if I was going to buy a cheap factory rod, I would probably buy a Kuma PCH.
Omar says, just bought a new fish finder for my kayak. Any tips on how to use it inshore, Redondo, Palos Verdes area?
I don't even know what kind of fish finder he's got.
Straight up and down unit.
Is it a straight up? Is it for? You got to elaborate a little bit more.
That, Omar.
Yeah.
Kim Herbert, I had grumpy captains and crews, no names. Overall, still like the San Diego boats. Remember, they do it every day, every trip.
There's some grumpy guys right now because they have no relief, and they're
they're
ready to
fishing all night
stop.
long.
And
There's
they're
some
ready to
guys-
stop.
There's some guys in the old days that had their code names were grumpy. I'm not naming anybody, but I'm just telling you.
I work for some grumpy people.
Hey, I deal with these guys, you know, at night, all night long, trying to get dope. I can tell by the answer in a text, they're burned out and they're tired. And I go, hey, get some sleep. I'll talk to you in the morning. You know, I can just tell. And I get it, man. Totally get it. Brian Hartnell, I can remember when the yellows would go on the chew when the red crabs were spawning. Salas even made a red crab colored jig.
I remember those.
I did too.
I remember those.
It's good color down south.
Yep.
Still see them at the ridge. Still see a lot of red crabs down there.
All right, cue ball. We got a black like that in Smuggler's Cove in the Channel Islands, like a Volkswagen. Those things get big, no question
Yeah,
about
they
it.
do.
DB, okay, just got home from a bad golf game. Redondo Sport Fishing, hands down, game 80s. The late Derry Darvin, who I knew really well. Rick Evinger, I know Rick, haven't seen him for a long time. Du Bois, Rich Rogers, Bacon, and Randy Penny can outfish anyone. Would be good to see you. All right, there you go. Those guys are all sticks, man. No question about it. Scott Dickerson, Mike Frank, old skipper on the Freedom, could do it all. His fish counts said it all. Did you know Mike?
You know Mike Frank.
Yeah, me too.
Mike used to run the Mustang for me when he was.
yeah?
Oh yeah. Before he got that, what was it, the New Image? But he ran the Mustang for a while. He was a big kid, good kid too. Yeah. back in
Small world. Cue ball. Seeing quite a few cow cod this year. Are they making a comeback? They're beautiful fish and they're huge. Boys, what do you say?
They've never been endangered.
No, and
That's
in fact,
that's a touchy thing between me and him is because the reason they're seeing them now is because they opened up fishing to 100 fathoms.
well, that and when you see them, we never saw them in 30 fathoms.
No, you had to fish them in 50.
But now I'm sure they're
50, 60
overcrowded out in
fathoms.
the deeper water, so they're moving out to
if you're
the shallower
fishing,
stuff.
if you're
so,
fishing 50, 60
Yeah.
fathoms, you're going to see cows.
exactly.
It happens.
And here's the thing, and I think I don't know if I mentioned this to you before.
Is that the story about the 43?
Yes.
Yeah, and ended up off a conception after
Yeah.
like a week and a half. Yeah.
And now we can understand it because they have a decompression chamber that they could decompress those things and track them with the tracker on. So yeah. So what do we really know?
Nothing.
All right, Rick Slater says, older than both of you, are some illegal 400-pound black sea bass? The white sea bass is the king, yes. The 540 was built as a 30-pound rod, says DB. Grew up with Mr. McCrone, who owned Sabre. Did you know him, Danny?
No, because I had guys like you and guys like that would get our blanks for us, and they were right there,
Omar wants to know, hey, is there any way to get a boat cheap?
Yeah, be a pinhead.
I think he's talking about buying a private boat. I guess buy some crappy boat. And
Is
then
there
refurbish
a
it, right?
value, cheap way to get on a boat?
Oh, get on a boat. Yeah, you're right.
Be a pinhead. start scrubbing. It all depends on how old
That's
you
it.
are. That's
That's
the
true.
best way to do it if you
That's
want.
true.
Then you
Really.
end up working in the industry because
Exactly.
you made bad life choices, scrubbing a boat for free.
Exactly.
All right, Sarah took your advice about being a backseater in one of those tournaments, maybe. William Padilla, what rod would you recommend for a Shimano Speedmaster 8?
I've lost touch with Shimano years ago
I don't even-
when
is it-
Toyo and Kozo were kind of
What size?
Bumped out of the
it's
business.
that a casting? Is that the Speedmaster 8's a casting?
it
What
must
size
be.
line?
It's probably like a little. Is it a little Trinidad type reel?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. See, I've been out of it for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good
With Shimano,
question
yeah.
for our Sam De La Torre.
There you
Island
go.
Fishing Tackle, right?
Sam's the man.
You
Yeah.
got to tune in. William, you're always on that show. You might have to wait a little while. Omar's Fish Finder is an Echo Map. I don't even think you guys aren't gonna know what all this is, right?
An Echo Map? I know what an Echo Map.
UHD
Yeah, that's a
64.
Garmin.
You know what that is?
Yeah.
Okay. He
Sure.
wants to know about inshore. Well, how to use that, or some tips on how to use that.
You just go out. You're gonna have to go out and get acquainted with it. It's, I wouldn't use the if you're gonna fish it from here. I would not use the clear view. I wouldn't use that version. I would use your traditional chirp because you're gonna get a color palette and you're gonna see the hardness of the bottom opposed to just a picture. So you just got to spend time with it and learn the color palettes of it. Like us with the Furunos, you get a 200K, opposed to a 50, you use a 50 because you can get a better picture on the bottom just because of the ping going through the bottom.
Yeah.
So the harder the return going down through the bottom. If it's a narrow band, you got soft bottom. If it's a thicker band, more echo, you got a harder bottom. You have to get out there on the water and put it to work. You get it tuned in right, you can start seeing what you're looking at. And then if you want to use the clear view, you can go side by side with it and then start looking at what your clear view is. If you've got kelp or grass or the bull kelp on the bottom opposed to what you got on the side-by-side view, it lets you get an idea of what you're looking at. So when you do put it to use, you got a better shot at it. So
Well,
That's-
it's changed.
it's
I mean,
changed
when we
a
used
lot.
to, before any of that stuff, we go out to the 60. All we had was an up and down.
Yeah.
Man, if you got it on the meter, phew, get ready to put the anchor down.
Yeah,
And now I
it's-
talk to my brother, and they have these things that'll draw it. He says, there's literally like a canyon. He says that you straddle and fish the 60, and it becomes like a highway for the fish to travel. So
Yeah, you can get-
there's
well,
a
because
position
you got-
alpha.
Well, yeah,
and
because you
straddling
got
it.
your depth finder, you got your graph right there, so you see your graph, and you got your chart plotter that's right next to it, so you can follow that little contour line, see exactly where you are in relation to where the high spots are and stuff like that. So
Exactly.
utilize it the best. 64 is kind of a small screen. Unfortunately, you're going to find yourself buying a 9 or 10 inch to put on your kayak because you're not going to like your 64 anymore because you're going to want a bigger unit so you can see more. Sorry, it's not. Hey,
Then you're going to want a bigger boat.
and you're going to, well, no, he's got a kayak, but yeah,
Well,
he's
that's
going to
what I'm
want more
saying.
stuff. Then he's going to put a trolling motor. So, congratulations. Welcome to the world of kayak fishing. And start looking at fish finders online because you're going to want a next one, a bigger one. We always do.
All right, Hamilton is wishing everybody luck who's in the surf fishing contest this weekend. He's looking for his third win this
Whoa,
year. DB
cool.
says, I screwed up and didn't read the comment right. He said the Redondo boys will outfish anyone, including you, Phil. Hey, I was a Redondo boy.
I learned
DB.
from Redondo boys.
Huh?
I learned from Redondo boys.
Yeah, that's where I started,
I
man.
fished over there. I used to fish the barges when I was a little kid.
Those guys over there know how to fish surface. Do they fish? They fished rowdies or the Roddies back then. They fished Tatty 45s. They showed me how to pick out a Tatty 45. And I guarantee you, most tackle stores back then, if there was a person in the tackle store that threw surface irons, you just walked out of the store without any Tatty 45s because the only ones left were junk.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It wasn't the
It's
same.
amazing.
William wants to know, have any of you tried the Mad 8X32 jigging braid or the regular Nomad Pandera 8X braided line?
No.
No, I never
I
have.
have no idea.
Sorry, William.
Have not. Sorry.
Sam De La Torre, my friend. Omar, I'd like to hear from each of you. What's the most surprising or unexpected item you've ever pulled up from the water? Danny, have you ever snagged something weird or
You know what?
any mermaids or anything?
No, but I got a story we're going to save for when Gary Loomis comes down here because this is an unbelievable deal. But I'll save that story for that. But we'll see. Go ahead, Will. Well, I'm thinking, but that one's going to be a good one for that.
Unexpectedly snagged from the water. I would, you know what? I don't know if it was unexpected. It worked out. I watched a kid throw his rod over the side by accident, and I happened to grab a flat fall off the rack that somebody had there, and I threw it right over by where he was. We were drifting. That little kid thought his rod was gone, and I dropped it down about 100 feet, started whining. I was like, got it. And I brought his rod up. I've seen, so I would
Oh, my
say
God. That's awesome.
having a rod fall over the side and somebody throwing a jig or something and catching their rod and getting the rod back was probably the most unexpected thing, especially at Alejo's or
you
at the
just
Ridge.
made this little kid's day too.
Well, yeah, and I made
right?
his day. He got
Yeah.
his rod back.
Yeah.
Told him don't throw it back in the
Cool.
water again.
That's
Next time
awesome.
I might not be able to get it.
Yep.
Pat Whitaker was at Catalina this year.
Oh.
And something happened with the rod or the reel screwed up or something. He was so mad he threw it over. And when we pulled the anchor,
It was still in the.
it was on the anchor. So he couldn't get rid of it. No matter. Hey, do you know who DB is? He said he's known you since you were in second grade or since you were 2 or something. DB is Dan Burns, I'm sure. Do you know Dan Burns?
Dan Burns, by the way, Phil, I've known Will since he was a second.
Or second captain. Or Dan Burns, I think he's.
I think me and Dan Burns have got along. I know who Dan Burns is. Everybody knows who Dan Burns
Yeah,
is.
I know. Do you know him, Danny?
No, I don't think so.
No.
I don't think, but he's out of Redondo, huh? Jerry's
Yeah,
and just
you got it.
and Pete's
It is
just
Dan
fishing.
Burns.
Yeah.
Dan, good to have you here. All right. I bet that little kid had his day made when you got that rod back. I bet the look on his face said it all.
Oh,
Said
yeah.
Sarah. All right, guys, we've come to the end of the questions. So you know what that means?
I can go home.
Yeah, almost. You guys get to say goodbye. Will, why don't you give the El Patron a plug and let all our guys know you'll see them in the morning.
So, yeah, you guys want to come out and go check out the El Patron? We're putting our schedule together for October. Probably the next couple weeks. There's still open party trips for day and a halves on the boat. Hopefully we can get you guys get on the boat, try it out, see if you like it. Go from there. We're going to continue to fish this yellow, the tuna and the bluefin. The bank should be getting better. Right now the weather's up, but it should be getting better as it goes. And I will see you guys on the boat at 6. Be here by 5. That way you guys can get checked in and everything like that, and we can get off the dock by 6 o'clock opposed to waiting. So if you live in the valley, that means you have to leave at 4:30. You can't wait till, well, actually got to leave earlier because it's
It's going to
an
change,
hour.
huh? Yeah.
So yeah.
Tomorrow
if
it
you-
changes?
Daylight
no, if
savings
you live
times.
in Simi Valley, you got traffic on the
yeah, yeah.
405,
Yeah,
so you need to leave
yeah.
even earlier.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, you get a little nap over on the way to Catalina tomorrow. But shoot, I think that's about all I got to say, and I got to get out of here
Great job,
since you held me hostage.
That worked.
Danny, great
Well, you know,
show.
one thing I do, initially we are going to have a kid. I think we build it on
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
He's at school, and he's a young man that I know that his heart's going to be in sport fishing. We're going to have him in there one day. He's just really good. He's a big kid, but his heart's going to be in fishing. I'm trying to channel him the right way, And there's schools now that will take a kid in 10th grade. By the time he's 18, it's a oceanography. What's a school basically get your 100-ton. So by the time
you
they're
still have to be
18 and he
19
turns
though?
this, I think 18 isn't it?
19.
18 and 19.
You gotta be 19 to get a license.
Okay,
So-
so
but you're
you're
right
out
there.
of high school.
Yeah, you're
you
right
got
there.
everything down.
Yeah, you
and
can almost
you're
jump
bingo.
into
You
it
could
right
get
then
your
and there.
time.
And I'm
from
going
the
to
time you're
answer a quick
16.
question.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, go for it.
the bunks, there's 11 bunks on the boat, probably 8 of them that are open, that don't have stuff on them. So yeah, they would be first come, first serve, but it's not going to be a long trip over there. It's going to be a couple hours. So there's room in the galley to hang out, relax. So I don't have full bunks. How many people you got going with you, Phil?
20.
20?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have 20 bunks. That's two per person.
So
but
maybe some of the older.
yeah, I would give it up to the older people.
Sal, we're gonna let the old far. I'm old, but I don't need a bunk. I'm good with that one.
Well, we did a funny one. Donnie Brockman with the freelance.
Oh gosh.
We started doing an overnight deal.
Is that when he was
We were-
doing overnight yellowfin tuna?
And we were going to do is take some chalk and put it on his deck and mark off a bunk space and number it
gosh.
just to mess with him. But I
remember when he was doing those open party,
Oh, God.
3/4 day, or
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
open
yeah.
party overnight tuna trips in
Oh,
'92.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
With 70 people.
Yes.
They used to do cherry banks. Bring your sleeping bag, didn't they?
I think so. He
Yeah.
was, God, that
Yeah,
was,
like I said,
then they
we-
stopped him. No, you can't do that anymore.
You know, Dan Burns keeps saying it's his son that's typing on all this crazy stuff.
No,
Oh,
it's
God.
not.
He's
It's
in a
Dan
bottle of
Burns.
tequila.
No, it's
That's
Dan
what it
Burns.
is.
He's the same way on the radio.
5 key guys. Yeah, I know.
Oh, God.
Hey, so maybe we let 8 guys sleep on the way to the island and the other 8 guys sleep on the way back. Who knows? Sal, you've opened up an entire beehive.
Oh, God. God.
All right, guys. Hey, thanks, Danny. Oh,
Okay,
Danny,
you're Phil.
you're
Yeah, no,
talking
so
about-
anyway, I
Go
just
ahead.
want to talk to this.
Yeah.
This, he was going to be the guest, and his father was at the hospital, and he had to go in for emergency heart signal. So, our prayers go out
Absolutely.
to Dave Durenko's father, and hopefully we'll have him back, and hopefully everything's going to be great with his dad, but I'll have him back. But it's talking about how, I think he's somebody that's going to be tremendous to get in. He loves his fishing. He's already got his own boat, goes out and does stuff at 16. And so he's a great candidate for our fleet one day,
Oh, yeah.
And I was telling him, if you go over to Polar, we can institute something like that up at the O'Gain camp. That's where these guys can start a program, because I know that, and I've heard this from our landing manager, from our partner down at Frank or City.
There's a shortage of
that
captains.
we've lost trips because you couldn't get a second.
Yes,
and I
it's
thought, you
tough.
got to be kidding me.
You can't find,
So-
you can't find somebody. There's a shortage of captains.
Here's something we could probably bring in when Dave's, hopefully everything's cool and come in, we can get him on the show. And maybe get a program going, because we're going to need that. We're all going to need that for our fleet, for our
It's
future.
tough right now.
Yeah,
It's
that's
hard
what I'm
to find-
saying.
It's hard to
and
find
he's the
captains.
perfect type of kid. He's into it, and it's going to make a good show for that too. So anyway, down the road,
Matthew Barron,
yeah.
member of the Friedman Adventures family. Danny, here go the prayers already.
Thank you, guys.
for sharing your wisdom prayers for the man in the hospital. Great stuff.
Absolutely.
Feeling very
Thank you,
good
folks.
now.
We appreciate that. Like I said, and I'm also sending my prayers out to his family and
Me too.
hoping everything goes well with the surgery
Likewise.
and everything. So
Are we gonna let Will go home now?
Yes,
or
I'm
not?
going home. I'm out of here.
thanks,
So,
Will.
You know,
Thanks, guys.
appreciate
All right,
it.
bud.
Have a great night, everybody. Danny, Will, great show.
See ya.
See you guys.